This is Adam Graham from Pretty Much the Present, bringing you a week of old-time radio podcasts. These episodes were originally released back in 2011, and we're releasing them here pretty much as is, with only some extraneous bits such as the opening from all of the episodes after the first episode removed. Because these are old, it should be noted that any offers or promotions mentioned in the episode may not be valid unless they're currently mentioned on the Great Detectives website. Here now is a week of old-time radio detective podcast. Welcome to the Great Detectives of Old Time Radio. From Boise, Idaho, this is your host, Adam Graham, wishing everybody a happy Valentine's Day. Would have been appropriate, I guess, to play Let George Do It. But you can send your comments on the show to box13 at greatdetectives.net. Become one of our friends on Facebook, facebook.com/Radio Detectives. And as always, feel free to give us a call, 208-991-4783. And we'll play your voicemail on the air. Well, before we do get started, I do want to encourage you to check out Tales of the Dim Night. It's a fun, light read. It pays homage to a lot of the classic superheroes. So if you grew up watching shows like Batman and Superman, I think you will enjoy the book. You can read sample chapters, reviews, and purchase the book over at dimnight.com. We're going to get into today's episode of The Abbotts, The Dead White Flame.
After all, what would you do if your husband thought romancing in the moonlight with you wasn't as much fun as solving a murder mystery?
The National Broadcasting Company presents The Adventures of the Abbotts, starring Claudia Morgan and Les Damon as Jean and Pat Abbott, those popular characters of detective fiction created by Francis Crane. NBC invites you to join Pat and Jean each week at this time for another recorded adventure in romance and crime. Now here is Jean Abbott to set the stage for tonight's puzzle in murder.
You've heard about the unbelievable fogs they've been having recently in England. Well, this one topped them all. Pat had been working on a case in a remote town in Scotland. And now we were flying back to London to pick up the transoceanic plane and return to the States. The plane we found in Scotland was a chartered job. It was the best we could get, being in a hurry to reach London. Pat, of course, was sitting as calmly as could be. Nothing on earth rattles that boy's nerves. He was nonchalantly thumbing through a magazine. Me, well, as usual, I wasn't doing too well, peering out at the weather. Pat? You want to play Scrabble?
Nope.
Oh, be sociable, Pat. You should say I'd be delighted to play Scrabble, especially with you, Mrs. Abbott, the world's champion player.
Mm-hmm.
I found a set, Pat. Now I'll get a pencil and paper and we'll play. Let's see, I have a pencil. Oh. Maybe he has some paper.
Who?
That man right in front of us. That very distinguished-looking man.
Well, if you're looking for an excuse to talk to him, dear, go right ahead. I'm not the jealous type, you know.
Not much. If he talked to me for more than 60 seconds, you'd pick him up like you were back out west with a newborn calf. Toss him out of the plane.
I would not. Now, go on. Ask him for the paper.
Okay. I beg your pardon.
Yes?
We wanted to play a game, and we haven't any paper. Have you?
Oh, surely. I have a pad right here in my briefcase.
Well, it's awfully kind of you.
Oh, not at all. There you are. Go on, take the whole pad.
Well, thank you.
Sounds a bit rude, but it isn't a game 3 could play, is it?
Why, surely, Mr.
Dr. Rhodes.
Oh, I'm glad to know you, Doctor. I'm Jean Abbott, and this is my husband, Pat.
You aren't Dr. John Rhodes, the psychiatrist, are you? Yes, I am. Well, I'm delighted to meet you, sir. I read your book, Psychoneurosis in Wartime. Jean, Dr. Rhodes is one of England's foremost analysts.
Oh?
You sound as though you were quoting the dust jacket on my book. I wish you wouldn't. It's most embarrassing. Are you a physician, Abbott?
No, I'm a private detective from San Francisco. Your book, as you might well imagine, was very closely connected with my field.
You mean some private detectives read? I was under the impression they all solved their cases by being periodically knocked unconscious.
Well, that happens, too. But criminal psychology is also helpful at times. Your theory about us is very much like our theory about you.
And what is that?
That all psychiatrists begin a case by fluoroscoping the patient's wallets.
I'm afraid our business is considerably more serious than that.
Especially, Doctor, in the area where psychosis becomes crime?
Yes, Mrs. Abbott. You know, our most widespread problem medically today is not heart disease or cancer, devastating as they are. By statistics, it's mental illness. Hundreds of thousands of persons lie in hospital beds today because they are emotionally ill. Still more are at home or wandering the streets.
Wandering the streets, contemplating murder, eh, Doctor?
Occasionally.
Does becoming absorbed in the criminal mind sometimes make you, well...
Wonder about myself? Of course. I simply like to think my more evil impulses are reasonably controlled, though.
So controlled you could never commit homicide?
No, I'm susceptible too. But we are admitting an entire area in this discussion. The area of fanaticism. The lunatic who believes he must have power in the form of admirers, followers, who believes he has a special mission on Earth, even though it means bloodshed. Which gets me to my present trip.
Might we ask what that is, Dr. Rhodes?
The British government is sending me to Kensington Downs, to a hospital there. There are some very perplexing cases in that hospital. Cases of fanaticism.
Pat,
I'm going to...
Excuse me, Pat. Pat, something's wrong. The pilot isn't cutting that motor. It's missing.
Yes, I know. I hear it. It's all right. It'll pick up again.
Pat! Pat, the lights!
Steady, Mrs. Abbott. If anything were really wrong, the pilot would warn us.
Just stay in your seat, Jean.
But
don't fidget and don't become hysterical. We can always make a belly landing. We aren't over water. We're somewhere near London. He'll find a place to set us down. This whole section is pockmarked with airports.
Fasten your safety belts. Fasten your safety belts.
Pat, we're going to crash.
Now, easy, darling.
Oh, Pat.
Get that belt tight.
Yes.
There you are.
Pat, we'll be killed. We'll be killed.
Now, don't lose your head, Jean.
Oh, we're going to die. Pat, we're going to be killed.
No, we're not. Now, darling, steady. Steady now. Steady.
Where are you, Pat?
Jean.
Where are you?
Jean, darling. You hurt?
Oh, no. I'm all right. Are you, dear?
Yes. Just a little shaken up. Oh. Can you stand up?
I think so. Wait till I unfasten the belt.
Here, let me help you.
I'm okay. I'm pretty dizzy, though. Oh, golly, the plane's all in one piece.
Yeah, so let's get out of here fast. It might catch fire. That emergency exit's open. See it up ahead?
What is it? Where are you? I can't see you.
Over here. Dr. Rhodes.
Is he hurt?
He's out. Cold.
Oh, Pat, there's the pilot outside. He'll help. In here. There's someone hurt in here.
All right. Take it easy. I have a flashlight.
Oh, please, my eyes.
Shine it this way. That's it.
That chap got it bad, didn't he?
Oh, his head.
Well, I sent someone for an ambulance. They'll fix him up.
I don't think so.
Why not?
He's dead.
He is. Oh, no.
Too bad that confounded motor had to blow like that. Well, you two come on out. We'll take care of him.
Watch your step, Jean. That's it.
Gosh. Dark and cold out here. What is this, a swamp?
No, we're about 80 miles from London. There's a hospital down the road. I sent there for help. I'll be back. Have to see about the other passengers.
So cold. Can you see anything, Pat? It's so foggy.
No, not much.
Darling, we should get down on our knees and thank God for that pilot. I never thought we'd walk away from this landing.
Uh-huh.
What are you doing? Get away from that motor. It's broken. It's liable to explode or something.
Uh-huh.
Pat, will you listen to me?
Yeah, huh?
Fine thing. A man nearly gets killed in an airplane crash, and what's he do? Calmly strolls around examining motors. Of all the coats...
Dean, that motor is in awfully good shape.
It just doesn't make any sense to go... Good shape?
Yes. Looks like nothing's wrong with it at all.
Oh, but
Yes,
darling...
I know. We had a crash landing. It's a puzzle, huh? Yes, and when you've got the answer to that, you might try telling me how Dr. Rhodes got killed.
Well, he was killed in the crash.
He was tied into his seat with a safety belt. He didn't bounce around any more than we did. We're well, but the doctor's head is bashed in. Skull is cracked wide open. He wanted to play games, Gene. All right. Get a pencil and paper and figure that out.
We stood beside the huge silhouette of the plane in that cold, damp English countryside with the dead body of Dr. Rhodes inside the plane. Spotlights swept the ground from police cars. Ambulances roared about. White-coated interns like ghosts flitted past us. Pat was very deep in thought and businesslike. Now that he'd stumbled into a murder, he kicked the ground pensively.
All right, come on, get it out. Yes,
Now, Gene, listen. When they come over to us, no matter what I say, follow my lead. Don't ask questions.
Pat, do you think you know why we had that phony accident? Why Dr. Rhodes was killed?
I'm just a detective, dear, not a crystal gazer. Keep your pretty shirt on.
Good evening. My name is Sterling, Major Sterling. I'm the director of the Regent Hospital down the road. You people feel all right? Anything we can do for you?
Why, we're...
I think you might help me. I feel punchy from shock. You're kind of tossed around in the plane.
Why, certainly. If you'll come this way, I have a car. You can rest at the hospital, and we'll have a look at you there.
Fine. Thank you, Major.
Major, I'd appreciate it very much. I'm his wife. I'm Mrs. Abbott, and this is my husband, Pat.
Well, don't worry, Mrs. Abbott. We'll have him fixed up in no time. He's probably just a bit rocky from the fall. Now, if you'll take his other arm, he can lean on both of us. That's it. There we are. Now, I'll just tell the pilot that I'm stealing two of his passengers. I say there. Yes? I'm taking Mr. and Mrs. Abbott to the hospital. Mr. Abbott doesn't feel well.
He doesn't feel well.
No, he said he's very dizzy and weak.
That's funny.
Why?
We simply had a rough landing, that's all. I don't see how he could have been hurt so badly.
You don't?
No.
Well, that's strange, too.
Why?
Well, you say the landing wasn't rough enough to injure my husband. But it was rough enough to kill Dr. Rhodes, wasn't it? As soon as I saw the hospital, I realized it was some sort of military establishment. It was surrounded by high stone walls with sentries and machine guns. The major told Pat he'd soon be okay and advised him to lie down for a while. They put both of us in a small private room. You can stop groaning now, Pat. We're alone.
Didn't I do a terrific piece of acting?
Marvelous, darling. Pat, you know you haven't kissed me for ages. After all, we might have been killed.
You know something? Maybe I should have been an actor instead of a detective. Just imagine. Radio City Music Hall presents Ava Gardner and Pat Abbott.
I was talking about a much more fascinating subject.
Let's see. What role would I play? Maybe I'd be... Huh? What were you talking about?
Kissing, remember?
Oh.
Lots of fun. Very popular nowadays.
Oh, Gene, now stay away from me. I'm supposed to be sick. What if somebody walks in?
Oh, they'll get a good practical lesson in the art of kissing from two highly qualified experts.
No, Gene, I'm supposed...
Close your eyes, dear. Lie back. You're supposed to be sick. And I'm Dr. Abbott, who's about to give you something that's a sure cure for chills, fever. Well, maybe not fever. You ready?
Oh, Doctor.
Yes? Oh, your fever's worse. Better give you another treatment.
Excuse me. Sorry to break in on you like this. I'm Vic Williams. The Major sent me. I'm an intern.
What is it, Vic?
He said for you to drink the stuff in this glass. It's a sedative.
Oh, thanks, Vic.
Hi. You don't mind my saying so. That was quite a clinch you two were in. Young love's a wonderful thing. What?
Sure is, Vic. Now, if you'll just run along...
You should see me and my girlfriend. Like two lovebirds we are. I haven't seen her in a fortnight. Been stuck here at the hospital. Can't even talk to her. The phone lines are down, you know, on account of the store. I shan't be able to call her for a couple of days. She must be pining away no end.
Yes, I'm sure she is, Vic. Now, if you've nothing else to tell us...
You're from the States, aren't you?
That's right.
Married?
Yes. Now, look, if you just...
where are you from in the States?
San Francisco.
They just brought in that corpse from the plane, Dr. Rhodes. He looked like a real top line there in the morgue. Sort of friendly-like. Did you know him?
We just met him on the plane.
Hey, how'd the accident happen? I mean, were you two just sitting there?
Look, Vic, suppose we ask you some questions.
All right, I'll go ahead.
What is this hospital?
It's called British Military Hospital, T-17, Kensington Downs.
Well, what sort of men are here? Veterans of World War II?
Yes, ma'am. And others, the weird ones.
You mean mental cases?
Well, some of them are legitimately that, ma'am. The others...
Yes, what about the others?
Oh, you know, the British government's mixed up with plenty of fanatics in the Near East. We're always having trouble with them. They got some chaps here from the Mediterranean Society.
Oh, what in the world is that?
Wild-eyed blokes, I call them. Professional assassins. Stage riots in the Near East. Kill people, usually for money, although they claim some other fancy reasons. A lot of them are homicidal maniacs. Some of them are narcotic addicts. British Army rounds them up now and then, pulls them out of the area, ships them here for the cure.
The cure work?
I often wonder.
Lots of the Mediterranean League in this hospital?
You know, it's quite a three-ring circus with those boys and the kind they attract.
What kind do they attract?
Deportees, ex-Nazis, neo-fascists, the lunatic fringe. There's a lot of ex-Nazis who turned up in the League.
Let's come in.
Everything all right, Mr. Abbott?
Oh, fine, Major. Thank you.
Well, you try to get some rest and take that sedative. It'll calm your nerves. If you want anything at all, just tell Vic.
Thank you.
We haven't any caviar or champagne, though, much as I'd like to give it to you. I'll see you in the morning.
I'm getting on myself. I know you two want to be alone. How long have you been married?
A few years.
San Francisco, huh? What business are you in, Mr. Abbott?
Oh, I make a fortune, Vic. I dunk donuts for nearsighted millionaires. Now, look...
I know. I'm going. Oh, by the way, after I go, bolt the door.
Why?
This is a hospital for lunatics, man. You remember? During the nights, they get hopped up. They start running around. They're pleasant dreams.
Oh, lovely place. Lovely. Pat, what are you doing?
I'm going for a stroll.
Here? Now?
What did you think I pretended to be sick for? I want to see what makes this hospital tick.
Or wouldn't you rather lock the door and make believe we're back in Scotland on that moor in the moonlight? You made quite a fancy Heathcliff back on that moor, Pat, darling.
Right now, I'm more interested in who bounced Dr. Rhodes on the coconut and why. I'll see you around, Mrs. Abbott.
Not on your life. If you prowl, I prowl. If you think for one moment you're going without me, I'll scream.
No, all right. Come on. No lights out here. Follow me. Tiptoe.
Pat, look. A light's shining under that door.
Yes, I see it. Oh, come on. Easy.
Yeah.
Easy. peek through this keyhole.
What do you see?
2 doctors. Looks like an operation. They're working on a man's arm.
What are they doing?
One of them has a tattoo mark on his arm. Looks to me like the doctor is taking off the tattoo.
Oh, is that all?
It's enough. More than enough. Come on, Jean. We're going to find the major.
But, darling, thousands of men have tattoos.
Not those men, and not for that purpose. Now, come on, let's go. Hurry.
Sorry to break in on you, Major.
Oh, what's wrong, Mr. Abbott?
You know what's happening to some of your prisoner patients?
What?
I just saw them in the operating room. The doctors are removing tattoos from the men's arms.
Tattoos are usually...
Now, Jean, in a situation like this, those tattoos may be very important. Every man who served in Hitler's Waffen-SS bore a tattoo, a Nazi insignia, and his blood group. Ex-Nazis by the hundreds have them. And as for that Mediterranean League, they probably have a tattoo also. Most fanatic secret societies do.
You're right, Pat. I remember the Pachucos, the dangerous secret society in America. Same deal.
Yes. And once out of this camp, any of those men has a much better cover story. It would be much easier to deny any affiliation they once had.
Rotten trick of theirs. Well, I'm grateful to you, Mr. Abbott. I'll telephone our headquarters in London, and I'll double the guard. You'd best get back to your room. Mrs. Abbott will be safer there. These men may riot if they find out we're onto their game.
It's okay, Major.
Hello. I want military headquarters in London.
Here's our door, Pat.
Yes, and you're going to stay in this room, Jean, because...
Look out, Pat, behind you, the pilot. He has a knife.
Yes, I see him.
You... Wrist. You break my wrist.
Now drop the knife. Let go of that knife.
All right. My wrist.
I'll let go of your wrist after we finish playing a little quiz game.
All the double-crossing.
You faked that crash, didn't you? Didn't you?
Yes.
You turned out the lights, left the controls, ran back, and in the excitement, you hit Rhodes over the head. Simple, wasn't it? Especially when the plane's supposed to be out of control, anyway. Then you went up front, did a few wing-overs and a sloppy landing. They'd say the doctor died in the accident. Very neat way to commit murder. Well, why did you do it? Why did you do it?
You break my arm. I got paid 2,000 pounds.
All right. You're going to stay here a while. Come on, Jean, let's get out. I lock him in.
Here's the key, Pat.
Get a doctor. My arm.
Yeah, that does it. He'll stay there now. Come on, let's find the major.
Well, Mr. Abbott.
Oh, it's Dick.
I heard cries. I thought you were sick. What are you running about for?
Come with me, Vic. I'm going to the major. We're all in for a little entertainment. Your Nazi guests are acting up.
Huh? Well, what do you know?
Major?
More trouble, Mr. Abbott?
Yes. The pilot of our plane was waiting for me in my room. With a knife. I had to knock him out. He's confessed he murdered Dr. Rhodes. It was a fake accident.
What? He walked?
I'll give you the details later. But I haven't picked up by your men.
Oh, yes, I certainly will. No, I just telephoned headquarters. There's an investigating squad on the way here now.
Well, it's about time.
You know, Major, you're quite a remarkable man. Taking all this in stride. Telephoning London.
Well, it's all part of my job, Mr. Abbott.
No, I think you deserve special mention for an extraordinary job. Telephoning London, and the telephone doesn't work.
What was that?
Pat.
Yes, it's amazing. You say you called London for help. But Vic here told me a few minutes ago that the lines were down on account of the storm. He wouldn't be able to telephone his girlfriend for the next 2 days. How did you manage it, Major? Is magic also one of your accomplishments?
You've been asking unpleasant questions all evening, Mr. Abbott. I think I've had about enough.
Careful, Pat. He has a gun behind the desk. I can see it from here.
Vic,
Yes, Major?
you'll have to get rid of Abbott. Quickly, too. I wouldn't try any childish tricks, Mr. Abbott, or I shall be forced to kill your wife.
Yeah, surprised me. This chap was trying to come up the works. You suspect Abbott at all, Major?
Yes, I did, Vic. since he first presented himself at the hospital. It was obvious there wasn't anything wrong with him. I allowed him to come in, though, basing my tactics on the old saying, give a man enough rope.
You paid that pilot to kill Dr. Rhodes, didn't you, Major? You had to get Rhodes out of the way.
Go on. Very interesting.
The British authorities suspected everything wasn't exactly as it seemed in this hospital. They probably figured some of the so-called incurable prisoners were cured a long time ago. That some were feigning insanity. That all sorts of shenanigans were going on here, so they selected a top-flight psychiatrist, Rhodes, to check the patients. Not a full-dress investigation. Just a seemingly innocent visit.
Yes, they underestimated me on that, too, Mr. Abbott.
Yes, you needed a bit more time before staging what was probably going to be a wholesale escape. So you hired the pilot to keep Rhodes from coming here.
You fit the pieces together very well.
Thank you. You even told the pilot to crash right near Kensington Downs so you could sign the death certificate and get the body out of the way fast. Who paid you, Major?
No one. I helped them because I believe in the cause. My father was British, but my mother, Mr. Abbott, was an Asiatic. I was raised in the Near East, and raised in a tradition that loathes the British Empire and the Western world in its entirety. My father left my mother. I grew up as a poverty-stricken gamin in the filth of the worst of Cairo. This Mediterranean League you wish to destroy is my fondest hope.
Even though it's really a hopeless cause, Major.
Is it, Mrs. Abbott? Or does it burn within us with a high, dead white flame? Mr. Abbott, you will drink the contents of this glass. It's an overdose of a sedative I offered you before. It will be fatal almost instantly. A most regrettable accident. Happens occasionally in a hospital.
Oh, Pat.
Take the glass, Mr. Abbott. In your hands. That's it. Now drink it. I said drink it. Oh, my... I'll
take that gun.
Oh.
You know, for an apparently intelligent man, Major, it's quite a foolish error to hand someone a full glass of medicine and stand close to him so he could easily throw it in your eyes. A childish trick, as you warned me about before. Vic, try reaching London now. You work for MI5, don't you, British intelligence?
Yes. You are a smart bloke. I've been investigating this hospital for some time now.
Well, Vic, the least you could have done was...
I'm sorry, Mrs. Abbott. Obviously, I couldn't tell you anything. I had to let you both sweat a bit. I had no other choice. I'll call London and report this. I'll see you later, Mrs. Abbott. Get moving, Major.
Bye, Vic.
I hope you'll get to talk to your girlfriend soon, Vic.
Oh, I will. Love conquers all, you know. Get going, Major.
Pat and I finally did get to London. We caught the Clipper, and as we flew over the Atlantic toward home... Pat? If Vic told you he was an investigator, why didn't you tell me?
He never told me.
Well, then how did you know?
Because in the first place, he asked an awful lot of questions when we met him. Too many, in fact. Made me wonder whose side he was on. Then he told us to bolt the door, so I knew he was worried about us.
Darling, how could you be sure?
Oh, dear, when the Major said he'd use the phone, Vic didn't say anything.
Uh-huh. And that did it, huh?
Mm-hmm. That did it.
Pat.
What?
I just thought of a wonderful game we can play.
Scrabble again?
It's too dark.
Well, what kind of a game can you play in the dark? You got neon checkers?
No. I was thinking we could play...
Well, what?
Post office. Footnote to the story of the Dead White Flame. Modern airplanes are perfectly designed for safety, speed, luxury travel, and indoor sports.
National Broadcasting Company has presented The Adventures of the Abbotts, starring Claudia Morgan and Les Damon as those popular personalities of detective fiction, Pat and Jean Abbott, created by Francis Crane. Tonight's cast included Everett Sloane, Burford Hampton, and William Lally. The Adventures of the Abbotts was written by Howard Merrill. Original music composed and conducted by Dewey Bergman. Produced by Ted Lloyd and Bernard L. Schubert. Directed and recorded by Harry Frazee. Next week, same time, same station. Another exciting adventure in crime with Pat and Jean in The Adventures of the Abbotts.
This is the United States Armed Forces Radio and Television Service.
Welcome back. I've got to say, I've heard this episode. This is my third time hearing it. And every time I listen to this, I'm just blown away and impressed by how well this episode was written and how well it's aged. Every now and again, there will be episodes of these radio programs that deal with a problem that we're still dealing with today. In this case, you've got a definite terrorism undertone. This was just one of my absolute favorite episodes of this series so far. And definite chemistry between Pat and Jean in this episode that also is a big added bonus. We do have one listener comment before we go. Scott says, "You keep me going at night at work. I love Nero Wolfe and Johnny Dollar, thanks." Well, thank you, Scott, and that'll actually do it for today. We'll be back tomorrow with Nero Wolfe. Before we do get started with today's episode of Nero Wolfe, I do want to encourage you to try Audible. Audible opens a world of great listening to you. You can enjoy BBC radio dramas, such as the Poirot and Miss Marple series, or you can check out great mystery novels, such as the Nero Wolfe books. Or if you've had trouble keeping up on your reading, you can check out the latest bestsellers and also enjoy your choice of the New York Times or Wall Street Journal audio editions. You can try Audible out for free for 2 weeks and get a free audiobook. Go to audiblepodcast.com/oldtimeradio. Well, let's get into today's episode of Nero Wolfe, which features a brand new Archie Goodwin. To us, it's Gerald Moore. Now, those of you who are fans of radio detective shows will best know Gerald Moore as Philip Marlowe. Philip Marlowe actually went off the air in September of 1950, probably mostly because of Moore wanting to focus on getting into television. And it would actually return to the air as a summer replacement over CBS in the summer of 1951. So his appearance as Archie Goodwin comes kind of in between his Philip Marlowe performances. And of course, I should mention that the reason that the log I was reading last week was mistaken as to who was playing Archie Goodwin is that while Gerald Moore didn't play Archie Goodwin in that episode, he did appear as the Heavy. So Moore continuing to be a great character actor. Well, today's episode is called The Killer Cards.
Ladies and gentlemen, the ringing of that phone bell means mystery, adventure.
Nero Wolfe's office, Archie Goodwin speaking. You want Mr. Wolfe to what?
Mr. Wolfe will do nothing of the sort, Archie. Mr. Wolfe is thirsty.
Hold on for a moment. The bottle opener's in the left-hand drawer of your desk.
Thank you, Archie.
Mr. Wolfe, I've got a man named Denby on the phone. He wants you to umpire a card game.
The man is insane.
He's offering a fee.
The answer is no. I know nothing of card games, nor do I wish to learn.
Okay. Well, the answer's no, Mr. Denby. Sure, I'll ask him again. After he finishes the beer he's working on. Goodbye.
People appall me. The fantasies they indulge in. Bah, what on earth made that maniac think I might consent to preside at a card game?
Well, seems he expects one of the players to be death.
ladies and gentlemen, it's the bulkiest, balkiest, smartest, and most unpredictable detective in the world. That chair-born genius, Nero Wolfe. Created by Rex Stout and brought to you in a new series of adventures over this NBC network in the person of Mr. Sidney Greenstreet.
Mr. Wolfe would not attend, but the card game went on anyway. At the home of a Mr. Stephen Denby.
Jean?
Yes?
Augusta? Mr. Piper? I think we're ready to begin, eh?
I'm ready.
Yes, Jean. You always are.
How I like that remark, I'll have to decide later on.
Yeah, please do. Augusto?
It's all right with me.
And Mr. Piper?
I brought a deck.
No, as host, I shall supply the cards.
Before we play, I examine them, yes?
Of course. Here you are. Chuck?
Yeah, Mr. Denby?
You will remain outside the door until called. No one is to enter this room under any circumstances.
Got it.
Augusta?
The cards look all right.
Thank you. Now then, shall we make things absolutely clear?
You mean, should you make a speech? I don't mind.
But make it short, huh?
I shall. The four of us seated at this table are joint owners of the Candy Club, a rather successful institution devoted to the sale of food, liquor, entertainment...
And the gambling.
And games of chance. For some time now, we have all resented sharing the profits. Some of us have attempted to buy out the others.
Denby, you needn't babble on. No one wants to sell. We know that.
True, Mr. Piper. Which is the reason for this little game of cards. One hand shall be dealt to each of us. A hand at poker. Whoever wins gets the club. The others retire as gracefully as they can. Agreed?
That's why
yes, agreed.
Very well. The cards are shuffled. I'll place them in the center of the table. Picasso, would you like to...
I cut.
Good.
If nobody minds, I'll cut them too. After Mr. Lecasto.
Nobody minds? Happy now, Mr. Piper?
Let's get going, huh?
Very well. Unless Jean would care to...
Oh, thanks. We're all crooks here, which sort of cancels out any funny business with a card.
Very well. We shall all draw a card in turn until 5 cards are drawn by each player. Shall we start, Jean?
Sure.
Augusto?
Okay.
Mr. Piper?
Yes, of course.
And myself. We just keep going in rotation.
This is fun.
Fun? No. There's too much money which rides on these cards.
That's what makes it fun.
Would you mind keeping quiet? I'm nervous.
We all are, one way or another. I think we all have our 5 cards now.
We all got them.
Very well, then. In the same order that the cards were dealt. Jean?
A pair of 3s.
Augusto?
Nothing.
Mr. Piper?
Kings. 2.
The light!
Piper. Well, what?
Da-da-da-da-da-da. Da-da-da. Hey. Hey, I don't like to seem stuffy, mister, but will you take your elbow out of my back?
I'd be delighted to, Mr. Goodwin, but it's not my elbow.
I don't care if it's your tibia maximus. Just take it away.
Chuck wouldn't like that.
Well, we have company. Mind if I look around?
Keep right on walking, pal.
Well, that would be Chuck behind me, huh? And you are...
My name is Denby. You may remember it.
Oh, yeah. You phoned a couple of hours ago about a card game. Now, look, just what is your boy poking in my back?
I think it's a 38.
You're not sure?
It might be a 45.
Chuck, is it loaded?
Make a funny move, pal, and you'll find out the hard way.
Yo, wait a minute. It's just a passing curiosity. Where are we going?
My car. Get in.
If you insist. I guess you do. Okay.
I'll drive, Chuck.
The car bulletproof?
No, that's hardly necessary. Chuck shoots first.
Well, that's a saving, I guess. The only thing is, I hadn't figured on taking a ride. I told Mr. Wolfe I was going for a walk. He disapproved,
You're
but...
going for a ride.
Isn't that a little corny?
Now, there's a minor difference. Usually the guest, shall we say, is killed at the conclusion of the ride. In this case...
Let's not make the difference too minor. Huh?
You will survive the ride. It's what comes afterwards that might kill you. You see, Mr. Goodwin, my friends and I have a little mystery to solve.
You want me to solve it?
No. We want Mr. Wolfe to solve it. In order to do so, he must leave his house and come to mine. He has to in order to find the solution quickly.
Why?
Neither my friends nor myself have any desire to improve our acquaintance with the police. Therefore, we want the mystery solved before the police are even called in. Hence our need for Mr. Wolfe. Hence our detaining you.
Detaining is a pretty word in the circumstances.
Now, this is my home, Mr. Goodwin.
Oh, well, I don't like the architecture. I think I'll stay out.
Get going, pal.
On second thought, Mr. Denby, what makes you think Mr. Wolfe is going to leave his house and come here?
You. Unless he does so, he will lose you. Forever. The door, Chuck.
Okay.
Mr. Goodwin, may I introduce you to my associates in business and in poker? To your right, Mr. Locasto, a charming but impulsive fellow.
Hello.
He's only the stooge. Where's the fat fellow?
In time, Locasto. The lovely lady whose back is to you is Jean. Jean something or other. She's always changing her name.
Hello.
Hello.
And the gentleman facing you is Mr. Piper.
How do you do? Is he exclusive or just... Hey, he's wearing his red carnation a little low, isn't he? Over his heart. Except that's no carnation.
That, Mr. Goodwin, is blood. Lifeblood.
Archie. Oh, Pa, he's always taking walks. Come in, the door's unlocked.
Are you... Yeah, you're Wolfe.
Having made a magnificent discovery, suppose you remove your hat?
No, come on.
I beg your pardon?
Mr. Denby wants to see you.
Mr. Danby can see me here.
Here ain't where he wants to see you.
Here, at the risk of minor monotony, is where he'll have to see me.
Don't you want your boy Goodwin to keep on living?
No one has ever been able to discourage him.
Mr. Denby will.
Ah, Archie's in custody?
No, in Mr. Denby's house under a gun.
I don't have to believe that.
Take a look at this.
A wallet. Archie's wallet. I shall accompany you. And permit me to warn you that if Mr. Goodwin has been harmed, nothing short of murder will satisfy me.
It's getting late. Wolfe isn't here yet. Maybe he doesn't worry about you, Goodwin.
Well, he could have been delayed. Maybe an orchid needed a pollen transfusion or something. Besides, only the good die young.
Then you must be very, very good, Archie.
That remark I didn't care for.
We sit here and wait for the fat one, but in the meanwhile, the police...
The police will come when we notify them.
But they will not like the delay we make to notify them. I say we waste time. I say the fat one will not risk coming.
You say entirely too much.
Is that so? Maybe I kill you myself.
Picasso, put that gun away.
Yes, darling Archie should have a chance to live. Not long if Wolfe doesn't come.
Stop looking so pleased.
Are you afraid to die, Archie?
Yeah, well, I'm not looking forward to it. It's so final. Besides, I didn't eat a hearty dinner, and Oh, the Marines have landed.
Who is it?
Chuck, with Nero Wolfe.
Let him in. Shut the door, Chuck. Stay outside.
Archie?
Hello, Mr. Wolfe. Oh, am I glad to see you.
I regret I cannot say the same thing. Blast you, why couldn't you stay at home instead of taking those confounded walks? I warned you it'd be dangerous.
Yeah, but Mr. Wolfe, it wasn't the fresh air that got me. It was Denby.
Mr. Wolfe, I knew you wouldn't come here without some sort of pressure. I thought the method I used would be most effective.
Would you really have killed Archie if I hadn't come?
I would have had no choice. I would have been stuck with a witness to an unsolved murder.
Suppose I cannot solve it.
I should be forced to apply the same logic to two witnesses.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Wolfe, you really came here to save my life, huh?
Nonsense. I came here for a fee, Mr. Denby.
I have a check for $1,000 already made out.
Clear it up. You forget. I left my home. I traveled unprotected through the streets of this city, exposed to motor accidents, to fresh air, too. You offer me $1,000.
Will $2,500 do?
Barely. Archie, will you take the check? Now, I presume you want me to find who killed the gentleman at the table, the one facing me, huh?
His name is Mr. Piper.
The name is no importance. Will you all sit at the table in the same position you were at the time of the shooting?
Of course. Jean? Picasso?
Good. Now for a look at the wound. The lights, I should imagine, went out for a while when the shooting occurred.
They went out?
Yes. Of the three of you at the table, which one had the best motive for the murder?
We all have the same motive. The club.
Helpful. There was no one else in the room at the time?
No one.
The door?
Locked, with Chuck on guard outside of it.
So much for that. The windows, I notice, are closed. They were closed when the murder took place?
They were closed.
The window panes are all unbroken, which eliminates the possibility of the shot being fired from outside of them, unless one of them was raised and lowered.
That wouldn't have been possible. The windows are secured by catches.
Archie, will you check that?
Okay, Mr. Wolfe.
I shall for the moment assume that the windows are neither lying nor untrustworthy. Does anyone remember anything unusual occurring at the time of the shooting?
Well, someone whispered Piper just before the shot.
Indeed. You all heard that whisper?
We heard it.
Man's voice or woman?
Well, I can't say. A whisper doesn't reveal much of anything.
The windows weren't open, Mr. Wolfe.
Which leads to...
The fact that it had to be one of us in this room. But which one, Mr. Wolfe?
The murder weapon. Ah, yes. Yes. Has it been moved?
Nobody touched it. It's laying on the floor where it was dropped.
Interesting. If you look closely, you would observe two oil spots staining the rug between the revolver and the lady's chair, indicating... who sat at the right of Mr. Piper?
I did. Why?
Mr. Denby.
Yes?
If I were you, I would turn Mr. Lecasto over to the police.
You are a liar.
I warned you about that gun, Lecasto.
Was it necessary to shoot Mr. Lecasto?
In the arm, yes. He was reaching for a gun. He'll live, however, till the police take him away. What do I tell them?
You could point out the angle of the wound. As you notice, Mr. Denby, the bullet entered Mr. Piper's heart from the right.
Yes, so it did. Therefore, whoever sat to his right, well, that was Lecasto.
Archie, you have the check?
I have it.
We may as well leave.
Mr. Wolfe, you're sure Lecasto shot Piper?
I have indicated the evidence. The rest will be up to the jury. Come, Archie.
Jean,
Yes, Archie?
now that my life expectancy has increased, what are you doing tomorrow night?
Archie?
I gotta scram.
Lancaster 7583.
I'll be ringing your bell. Oh, Mr. Denby, you better do something about Lecasto's arm or he won't live to be executed. You see, the executioner likes them warm before he chills them. The old homestead looks very nice, Mr. Wolfe.
Yes, Archie. You should stay in it more often.
Yeah, but you never get to meet babes like Jean that way.
You never get kidnapped either. Nor would I have had to leave my home in order to rescue you.
Yeah, well, you earned a nice fee, fast.
Indeed?
You seem doubtful about it.
I'm positive, Archie. I know. I have not as yet earned my fee.
Huh? You mean Denby might not turn Lecasto over to the cops?
Of course he will. The trouble is, you see, Lecasto did not murder Piper.
No? He just thought a bullet in the heart might be good for Piper's rheumatism, huh?
As it happens, Piper suffered from asthma. That's beside the point.
Fine. Mr. Wolfe, I'm going to take it for granted that you know who did kill Piper. I'm also going to take it for granted that you won't tell me until you're ready. But why turn Lecasto over to the police?
Two reasons, Archie. First, I had no proof against the real killer. Secondly, we had to supply a scapegoat in order to be permitted to leave the Danby home. You were unarmed, helpless.
Go ahead, rub it in.
Nonsense. It was an interesting problem. I enjoyed it.
It was, huh? Well, to me, it's still in the present tenses. Which reminds me, as old Dr. Titmouse said, there's always a future tense. And in that future tense, Jean.
No, Archie.
Oh, Mr. Wolfe, stop. That girl's got a love for blood that appeals to the ghoul in me. Besides, did you notice what she does to her dress?
Archie, I was merely about to say that I have no objections to your dallying with the girl.
Oh, I don't believe it. My ears need overhauling.
I objected only to the future tense. Why not call her now?
Yeah, well, I won't pretend I understand this sudden enthusiasm on your part about my love life. Probably there's some foul, scheming motive at the bottom of it. But who am I to look a gift horse in the mouth? Now, let's see. Her number was,
Lancaster 7583, of course.
This is the most beautiful bar and grill I've ever seen, Archie.
Drank, you mean?
What?
Never mind.
Archie, did anybody tell you were beautiful, too?
Well, a girl here and there has mentioned it.
Oh, were they liars?
Tell me, Jean, how did you ever get into the gambling den racket?
Because I'm a crook?
Well, I suspected that, but,
I want another drink.
You've had enough.
I want another drink, and when Jean wants another drink, no gentleman who is a gentleman...
Jean, get down.
Oh, let me go. I don't want to climb under the table.
You'll stay under here until the barrage stops.
I guess the war's over. All right, Jean, get up.
No, now I'm here. I like it. I'm going to stay here for months and months.
Jean, do you realize that somebody just tried to kill you?
And I thought you had such a nice, honest face.
No, not me. Somebody out in the street. I don't know why, but Mr. Wolfe will. Come on, pull yourself together and let's go see him.
The nice fat man? All right, I like him.
You do? Why?
Because he'd make such a big corpse.
Is that you, Archie?
Plus Jean.
What made you think I wanted her here?
Well, she's one of your fans. She thinks you'd make a lovely corpse.
What was the reason for bringing her here?
She was shot at. Did you expect her to be?
I expected her to be killed. That's why I sent you to her.
It didn't occur to you I might be killed, too?
It did. I was willing to take the chance.
You were willing? Oh, Mr. Wolfe, Jean's a little under the weather.
Splendid. In vino veritas.
Watch your language.
I mean, the people in their cups often tell the truth. A proverb of some antiquity. Who shot at you tonight, Jean?
Oh, I don't know. I didn't see.
Has it occurred to you that you might just as easily have murdered Piper as not?
But Lucasto killed Piper. You said so yourself.
I lied. Furthermore, why the attack on you if Lucasto was the murderer?
Well, I don't know.
Did you also not know that Lucasto escaped from jail earlier this evening?
You're making that up.
Why should I? Mr. Denby turned him over to the police, but Lucasto managed to get away before being jailed.
That's not cricket.
Incidentally, Mr. Denby will be joining us at any moment. I expected you to bring Jean, Archie. Therefore, with the exception of Mr. Piper, who is resting in the morgue, and Mr. Lucasto, who is at large, we shall have all the participants in the card game. With them, perhaps we can deal a new hand, Archie?
Okay. Maybe it's the morgue to tell us Piper escaped. Oh, wrong again. Come in, Mr. Denby.
Mr. Wolfe, I'm upset. I heard over the radio about Lucasto's escape. He'll try to kill us all.
Why?
Well, because we can testify that he murdered Piper.
Truly?
I beg your pardon?
Lucasto did not kill Piper.
But you said that he did.
The only evidence against Lucasto was the angle of the entrance of the bullet that lodged in his heart. May I remind you of the whisper you all heard in the darkness preceding Piper's death?
The whisper that said Piper?
Precisely. We must assume, then, that Piper turned his body in the direction of the whisper. Therefore, the angle of the wound would be wrong for Lucasto, but the correct one for...
Whoever sat opposite Piper.
I sat opposite him. But that doesn't mean I killed him.
Wait, you must have. Once he turned, the bullet must have come from opposite him. Only possible way. That means you, Jean.
No. No, it's a frame.
May I interrupt for a moment? Mr. Denby, if our present analysis is correct, it must have been you who whispered to Piper. Did you?
I hadn't thought about it before, but...
Denby, you're lying.
No, he's not lying. Continue, Mr. Denby.
Well, when the lights went out, I wanted to tell Piper something. He turned to me, and that's when he was shot.
Archie, you've taken all this down.
In my prettiest shorthand, Mr. Wolfe.
Good.
I don't know why you're doing this, Denby. Maybe you think if I take the rap, you'll get the club. But remember, Lucasto's still free. He's gunning for all of us. But it'll be you. Especially you he'll want. Maybe you can talk a jury into sending me up for something I didn't do, but you won't live to gloat about it.
Go, shut up, Jean. You killed Piper and...
Who's that?
This is, of course, the murderer of Mr. Piper. No comments? Archie, the door, if you please.
But you said I was the one who...
What kind of idiocy is this?
Archie, I said the door.
Okay, but shall I ask him in or sock him?
You will act as the situation demands.
Yes, sir. But for once, I'd like to know what the situation is.
Raise him, Goodwin, and keep him that way. Now back up into the living room.
I don't back up good. My gears...
You want it here?
Never mind. I'll strip a gear.
Archie, what are you doing?
Just what the situation demands, backing up. In case your knowledge of armaments has failed you, our little friend Chuck here is pointing a .38 revolver at me.
Won't save him from the chair.
Maybe not. But it could give me quite a pain in the stomach.
Chuck, what do you think you're doing?
You double-crossing louse.
Gentlemen, if you
So
please.
you thought you'd run to the fat dick and pin it all on me, huh, Denby?
You don't know what you're talking about. We haven't even mentioned you.
You sure of that, huh? Then why did Wolfe phone me and tell me you were about to sing?
Wolfe phoned you?
Yeah. Said you were getting ready to feed me to the electrician up the river.
Oh, he was making a stab in the dark, Chuck. Trying to start something.
That's so, Wolfe?
Archie, will you read Chuck your notes about Mr. Denby's statement regarding the whisper?
Well, that doesn't mean... It could be misunderstood.
Read me the notes, Goodwin.
Here it is, I quote. When the lights went out, I wanted to tell Piper something. He turned to me
That's
and...
all I need to hear.
Chuck.
You were selling me out after hiring me to knock off Piper.
You dumb gunman. Now you've given Wolfe what he wants, a confession. I was trying to pin it on Jean.
That's what you say now. It's kind of late, though. Too late for you.
No.
Goodbye, Mr. Denby. Nice shooting, Chuck.
Stay put, Goodwin. The rest of you, I'm leaving.
Police wouldn't approve. But let me have your gun. Huh?
Wise guy. You know something? I've been thinking.
Can you think?
If I was to knock off you and Goodwin, me and Jean could split the club between us and nobody'd ever know who killed Piper.
Very whimsical, Chuck, but if you don't mind...
Archie, don't be an idiot.
Well, if I have to get shot, I prefer it to happen when I'm moving forward.
Archie.
Okay, come and get it, Goodwin. March right up nice and easy and take it.
I'm coming. Would somebody mind telling me why I don't fall down? I've been shot. Well, that's not the way to talk to a man who's just been... Hey, Chuck is lying down.
Is he dead?
Well, there's been a mistake. I didn't shoot him. He shot me.
Archie, stop blabbering. Neither of you shot the other. As a matter of fact...
I shot the Chuck.
Lucasto.
Lucasto, Archie?
Well, I thought he escaped.
No, I'm not crazy. I do not escape. The fat one, he phones the police to tell them how I'm innocent.
Yes, I had the police announce the escape, however, for reasons of, shall I say, strategy?
Well, on account of there are no bullet holes in me, you can say whatever you like, Mr. Wolfe.
Thank you, Archie. That announcement helped heighten the tension our murderers were under.
And then they explode. The fat one, he says to me, Lucasto, wait in the next room. Watch careful. Maybe there's trouble. I watch. And now? Now there's no more trouble.
Well, the place looks a lot tidier now with all those bodies removed, huh?
Indeed. Archie,
I'll get you the bottle of beer. But first, make with an explanation.
The case was crystal clear, Archie.
Maybe, but I'm no crystal gazer. Sure, I know. Denby had things arranged in advance with Chuck in case anybody held a better hand than his own. Piper did. So Denby whispered to Piper after kicking the light switch and set him up for a shot by Chuck from the doorway. The angle would provide evidence against Lucasto.
True. However, we had only Denby's word for it and Chuck's that the door was locked.
All right. We know, but you knew before Denby and Chuck blew up. How?
The oil spots on the rug, Archie?
Well, they only showed the gun had bounced when the murderer threw it away. Spattered oil, very well-kept gun.
They showed more than that. Where were those spots in relation to the gun? Think back, Archie.
Spots in relation... Oh, sure. They were between the gun and the door.
Therefore, the gun must have been thrown from the door. Bounced twice, staining the rug before reaching its final destination.
Ah, I get it now. That told you who'd fired the gun. But there wasn't proof enough, so you set up a nice atmosphere of suspicion and had the boys give each other away. All right, Mr. Wolfe, you're a genius, and you may have your beer.
Thank you, Archie.
As for me, I'm not a genius, but I remember a phone number. So if you'll excuse me, Mr. Wolfe.
You're excused, Archie.
Thanks.
But before you call that number, may I remind you that Jean is a girl of macabre tastes who appeals to the ghoul in you.
Sure you may, but why bother?
In order to be able to warn you that a ghoul and his money are soon parted. Good night, Archie.
You have been listening to The New Adventures of Nero Wolfe, starring Sidney Greenstreet. Tonight's transcribed story was based on the characters created by Rex Stout. This is an Edwin Fadiman program. In the cast were Gerald Moore as Archie Goodwin, and Betty Lou Gerson, Jay Novello, Howard McNear, Barney Phillips, and Bill Johnstone. Next week at this same time, Nero Wolfe and Archie will bring you The Case of the Calculated Risk. Don Stanley speaking. 3 chimes mean good times on NBC.
Welcome back. Well, we had another Wolf Heading Out episode. This one I definitely bought into the reasons for it, but I like the fact that we got the solution to the case in the office. It was a good mystery with a lot of twists, and I think the writers did a good job on this one. Well, I've continued to listen through a wide variety of radio detective and crime shows, and I took a listen to Mr. District Attorney. I definitely liked the show. It had some good writing on it, but it wasn't really a detective show. There wasn't a whole lot of mystery to most of the episodes I listened to. So Mr. District Attorney will go on our not planning to do list. Well, that'll do it for today. We'll be back tomorrow with Let George Do It. Before we do get started with today's episode of Let George Do It, I do want to let you know about Tales of the Dim Night. You know, I've talked about the Tales of the Dim Night being available to our U.S. readers on Amazon.com. But I know we have a lot of Canadians and a lot of folks from the UK who listen as well. And Tales of the Dim Night is available to you as well in your local Amazon store. Go to Amazon.ca if you're in Canada, or Amazon.co.uk and order it. It's a fascinating adventure with a lot of great comedy and a nice family story as well. With some great homages to classic superhero stories, check out Tales of the Dim Night. Now let's get into today's episode of Let George Do It. Everything is nice.
Standard of California, on behalf of independent Chevron gas stations and standard stations throughout the West, invite you to Let George Do It. Everything is nice. Another adventure at George Valentine.
Personal notice. Danger's my stock and trade. If you've locked all the doors but your knees still rattle, you got a job for me, George Valentine. Write full details.
Dear Mr. Valentine, my daughter has red hair. If you can imagine red hair with the rest of what you see in the photograph, you will understand a father's concern. Vivi is only 18, but she has spent every afternoon and evening of the past week in a disreputable place called Bamboo Bill's. Whom she sees there, I don't know, and she won't tell me. However, this is not just an affair of the heart. The 22nd of this month is her mother's birthday, but Vivi insists that she will not be home for that or any other family occasion. Mr. Valentine, my daughter isn't bad. She's upset and frightened. We are wealthy people, and I am positive someone has entangled Vivi in a situation too dangerous for her to handle alone. I will expect to hear from you at your earliest convenience. Sincerely, E.F. Sunderman.
What'll be this afternoon, tourist?
Oh, nothing, thanks. I'm just... Yeah, I'll give you my order in a minute. Oh, excuse me.
All right.
It's so bright out on the street, and they keep it so dark in here. I didn't see your gloves there.
It's all right.
Nice place here, though, isn't it?
I said, what'll it be this afternoon, tourist?
Oh, yeah. Well, let's see. Oh, limit, one per customer. Bamboo Bill's Barracuda Bite. That what you're having?
Do I look like a bee girl?
Oh, now listen, excuse me. I didn't mean...
Mine's lemonade. Here, Mac.
Thanks, Miss Sunderman.
I'll take it upstairs with me.
Wait, look, really, I didn't mean...
Sit still, tourist. I'll give you something on the house.
Huh?
Just a little rain, that's all. Convincing, ain't it? Clear up in a minute. You know how it is in the tropics. Meantime, it kind of washes the air, cools people off.
Okay, chaperone. But tell me about this place here. What's upstairs?
Where she went? Nothing. Boss's office.
Huh? Where are the stairs?
I didn't say the boss was there, tourist.
All right. So I want to apologize to the girl. What's it to you?
Oh, come on. Relax. I ain't got you pegged as a masher, but I've got you pegged as a guy who makes trouble his business. Now, suppose I nix you into the house and then you can tag me.
Hey, what's that supposed to be? Tropical thunder?
Hey, beg pardon.
Hey, wait a minute. You just come down those stairs?
No. I just thought I heard something through here, that's all.
Yeah, like shots maybe, huh? Come on, back up the stairs.
One side, old chap. Somebody's
No, you don't. Wait a minute.
Get help.
Oh, Lord. Miss Sunderman, where are you? Miss... Oh, no.
Easy, Valentine, easy. The ambulance is already on its way. Now stop kicking yourself.
Oh, well, I can't help it, Riley. If I hadn't got wise and thought I could strike up a conversation with her, she wouldn't have taken her lemonade upstairs. I don't think she's got much chance to pull through.
I've always found people who are headed for lead poisoning are going to get it sooner or later, regardless of circumstances. Now, cool off or tell me about that guy once again.
Brother, I'll be glad to. 6'2", slender, English accent, maybe Australian. And he definitely had been upstairs.
Gray suit, black mustache, not much hair. Okay, we'll get the alarm out, and I'll be with you myself in about 5 minutes.
Okay, thanks, Riley.
6'2", slender, and an English accent.
Yeah, that's right. Who are you?
My name's Bill McGee.
Bamboo Bill?
Yeah, I own the place.
Wow, well, lots of excitement here. Where have you been?
That's my business.
Okay. Wait for the police.
I don't mix well with policemen.
Now, look, South Seas merchant.
I've been there. I'm no phony. Just didn't go back soon enough, did I? So the Englishman shot her.
He was upstairs. But it's a big place. There might have been others.
He did it.
Hey, you're pretty sure, aren't you? Okay, what's his name? Who is he?
I haven't the slightest idea.
Beach boy, you better start getting some ideas. It happened in your office. The Sunderman girl's been here every day of the past week. So what? People will want to know why. They're not going to believe she just came here for travel lecture.
You talk too much, tourist.
Yeah. And she's been scared of something, upset. Her family was worried about it. Say, how do you get along with her family?
I didn't know she had a family.
Why don't you cut the hulu? You're trying to make up a story so fast your head's spinning. You're trying to... Hey, it's the ambulance.
Yeah. Let me tell you one thing, mister. If that kid dies, it's going to mean the ambulance for lots of people.
Mr. Sunderman, you and your friends will have to go back to the waiting room now.
Of course, nurse. Vivi will tell us, Mr. Valentine. She'll tell us as soon as the doctors are through, as soon as she's out of the anesthetic.
She may not know who it was, Mr. Sunderman. Those bullets struck her in the back. I mean, even if
She'll be all right. I know she will.
Of course she will, Mr. Sunderman.
Today was her mother's birthday, too, wasn't it?
Yes. I wanted everything to be so nice today.
What do you mean? Isn't everything usually nice?
Well, of course, but... Dora.
Oh, Ed, how is she?
Now, there's nothing we can do. Dora, please.
I'm sorry, dear.
I want you to meet Miss Brooks and Mr. Valentine. This is Mrs. Sunderman.
How do you do?
Hello.
You're Vivi's mother?
Oh, no. Of course not. I wasn't a child bride. I'm just her stepmother.
Oh, I see.
Ed never tells people. He thinks it's... Well, he just doesn't.
No, it's better not to. We're a family now.
Yeah, but I wish I'd known. It makes a few things a little clearer.
We've been married nearly 2 years now, and...
Mr. Valentine was thinking of how Vivi feels about me, darling. Isn't that right?
Uh-huh.
Oh, she hates me, of course.
Dora, no, please. After all the effort you've made...
Oh, maybe I'm overstating a little, but it's natural, isn't it? For a beautiful girl like Vivi and her young stepmother not to get along. She's bound to resent me. Well, I'm even attractive to some of her men. Don't you think so, Mr. Valentine?
Possibly.
But after all, I can't help the way I am.
Mrs. Sunderman, the important thing is Vivi kept to herself. She kept her own secrets.
I know that's true, but I have no idea what this thing was she was mixed up in. Bill McGee, I've never even heard her mention his name.
Well, the police will be finding out more about him.
And as for this Englishman you saw coming downstairs, her reasons for going to the restaurant in the first place, none of it makes any sense to me. I don't know what to tell you, Mr. Valentine, how to catch my own daughter's murderer.
Ed, don't. It's not your fault. But I'm afraid I don't really know anything about Vivi either, Mr. Valentine. I'm sorry I can't help you.
Yeah. Mrs. Sunderman, could I see you for a second alone?
Of course. He's so upset.
Yes, I know. Well, I just wanted to tell you, Mrs. Sunderman.
Yes?
I don't believe you. Goodbye.
Yeah. I find out nothing, you find out even less.
Well, Lieutenant, I threw a harpoon at Mrs. Sunderman, but I don't know whether it hit anything or not.
Well, we had the impression she was trying to protect her husband's feelings or trying to... Oh, golly, I don't know.
So do I, Miss Brooks. Say, do you know what happened to that South Seas character, Bill McGee? The big operator with the little answers? Well, he's gone, that's what.
Huh?
Yeah. I was getting nowhere with him, so I asked him politely to come to headquarters with a couple of the boys. And he just as politely gave them the shake.
Yeah, and he's probably in Tahiti by now, laughing up his sarong.
I wish he were. You see, we found out where Osbert Layden lives.
Wait a minute. Who?
Yes, we did make progress from A to B. The Englishman's name is Osbert Layden. Been in town a couple of years, lives pretty well without working, but behind that his past is a little too dark for my comfort.
What do you mean by that?
How should I know? All I can find out is he came from the Orient originally, and my hunch is by way of the confidence game.
Uh-huh. And And Bill McGee's done a little traveling, too, hasn't he?
That's what I'm driving at, and he's traveling today. When we went to Layden's place, we found his landlady shaking like a straight man in a George Adams cartoon.
Why?
Because she had already been visited by McGee and his suntan boys wearing blood in their eyes.
Oh, so that's it. Well, our chances of meeting the Englishman alive are a little slim, aren't they? With the shark factor.
How right you are. Excuse me.
Sure.
Yeah, Riley speaking. Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's here. Just a minute. It's Doris Sunderland. She wants to talk to you.
Oh, well, rose to the bait, huh? Hello, Mrs. Sunderland.
Mr. Valentine, I want to talk to you. We're back at the house now. We haven't heard any more from the hospital.
Talk about what, Mrs. Sunderland?
Ed is so upset, but he's down in the kitchen now, lighting the candles on the cake, still trying to make everything nice for my birthday. Mr. Valentine, he can't keep his eyes closed forever, can he? It isn't kind to protect him from knowing things, is it?
No, it's not. Suppose you just... Mrs. Sunderland. Mrs. Sunderland, what was that?
I don't know. Downstairs. Wait.
George?
Hey, what's going on there?
Mr. Valentine, come quickly. He's dead. My husband's dead.
How about it, Riley?
Yeah, he was shot through the window all right. The top of one of the birthday candles was clipped by the bullet. He was standing there behind the table. It lines up all right.
Uh-huh. Find anything outside the window?
Yeah, a man's footprint, but it's not clear enough to do us any good. The doctor got the bullet out. It's the same caliber, and it looks like it's probably from the same gun.
Oh, yeah, sure. The same person shot them both, but who?
Get a load of this, my friend. The sergeant tells me one of our prowl cars spotted the Englishman down at the corner of 4th and Main, a mile from here.
Yeah?
At exactly 6:25.
6:25?
Yeah. And we got here at 6:30, but you heard that shot on the telephone at 6:25 on the button. So it couldn't have been the Englishman who did it.
But you've got every cop on the force still chasing him. And me. I was dumb enough to let Bill McGee find out about it. So he could take off to get the poor guy first.
Oh, relax, will you?
Brother, I'm a great guy today. First I chase a girl upstairs so she can get shot. Then her old man is killed. Well, I didn't stumble around promoting that one. But, Riley, if the Englishman turns up a corpse, then I'll have a pretty good score today, won't I? Yeah. Join Valentine and see the morgue.
We'll return to tonight's adventure of George Valentine in just a moment. If your car kind of sputters on hills and acts logy in traffic, just try a tank full of Chevron Supreme gasoline. It's specially blended to give smoother performance on hills and under every driving condition. Depend on its ping-free power to give your car faster starts, faster pick-up and stop-and-go traffic, too. And remember, premium quality Chevron Supreme is climate-tailored. Wherever you drive in the West, Chevron Supreme gasoline is blended for that altitude and temperature zone. Try a tankful tomorrow. You'll find you can't buy a better gasoline for today's high-compression engines. Best of all, you're never far from Chevron Supreme. You can get it at standard stations and independent Chevron gas stations where they say and mean, we take better care of your car. Everything is sure nice. We are hired by a man named Sunderland because he was worried about his red-headed daughter. She was in some sort of trouble, but no one seems to know what kind of trouble. The girl herself is shot, and her father, who started this idea of wanting everything to be nice, is murdered by the same gun. Well, if your name is George Valentine, you know that this is no time to be sitting around counting birthday candles.
Mrs. Sunderland, we're going to start at the beginning.
Wherever you like.
Oh, no. Wherever you like. You're the one who knows things.
Well, I don't know who killed anyone.
Yes. We've been through that much. I mean the beginning of what was wrong with Vivi.
Oh. Well, Vivi isn't wild, if that's what you mean. In fact, I think she's always looked down her nose a little at me. You know how girls are. Oh, yes, of course.
Mrs. Sunderman, your husband liked to pretend he had one big happy family.
Perhaps.
Uh-huh. And you like to help him do it.
What?
I don't believe that a woman wouldn't investigate what her stepdaughter was up to.
Well, I've never actually...
Come on. You started to tell me once on the phone.
Yes, but so much has happened. I heard that shot.
I'm asking about Vivi. What was it about her you didn't want Mr. Sunderman to know?
Well, it's something to do with that Bill McGee. She's scared to death of him. She has money, you know, a big allowance.
Go on.
Well, I don't want to cause any more trouble for her.
I'm the one who does that. Go on.
There are some papers he has. She wants them. Papers? Is evidence of some sort. I should imagine of gambling, wouldn't you?
Oh, I don't know, Mrs. Sunderman. I'm not using my imagination anymore. I just now quit.
Check your hat, sir.
Yeah, here you are. Thanks.
Oh, wait a minute, sir. The main dining room's through the other way, and the tropical bar's just to your right.
Oh, yeah, sure. I'll be there in a minute.
But you're going the wrong way, sir. Charlie?
Papers. Well.
What?
Look what the monsoon blew in.
Well, Valentine.
Yeah, now just stand there. And keep standing there. You're through traveling for a while, McGee.
Oh, cut it out, will you? I'm not packing a gun. I'm not going anyplace now.
That's an understatement. But you know, I didn't quite expect to find you coming back to your own office. Not with the bloodhounds after you.
Why not? The hot spot's the safe spot, isn't it?
Pretty glib, aren't you?
I've always been able to take care of myself.
Uh-huh. You and your boys, the bartender, the suntan kids.
They're all right. They stick by me. Sailors, most of them. Guys I've known in the islands and around. They show up, I give them jobs.
Oh, sure. Like taking care of the Englishman?
We couldn't find him.
Oh, brother, you take a load off my mind. All right, let's talk about gambling.
What?
Gambling. Like girls with too much dough do sometimes.
Still don't get you.
Okay. Then we'll make it papers. A piece of evidence you have that might be interesting.
Oh. Look, Valentine, you got to understand something. I came to the States and I opened this place to raise money. There's a trading company down in the Celebes. We need a couple of new boats. That's what I like, see? The green places, they get in your blood. The reefs and the blue water. And
You're a one-man traveler.
Now, listen to me. There was another reason I came, too. It'll sound silly to you, but I came to get me a wife. Yeah, I did. I thought I'd found someone until things began to go wrong.
You mean someone like Vivi?
Yeah. Yeah, but things went wrong, you see. And then today, when the Englishman shot her...
Who says he shot her?
Huh? Well, you saw him coming downstairs. You put the finger on
Now, get this straight, Buster. Vivi was shot by the same gun by the same guy who killed her father.
What?
But her father was shot at exactly 6:25 tonight. And at that time, the Englishman was a mile away.
Who says so?
I heard the shot on the telephone. It was the police who saw and almost caught Layden. He's got a perfect alibi. Now tell me his story.
Okay, Valentine. I'll show you the piece of paper. That evidence you're looking for.
Well, that's more like it.
It's through here in the next room. I'll tell you the truth, Valentine. I'll show you what it is, and I'll show you... I still take care of myself, tourist.
Find those papers. There's something in the other room.
Come on, wake up, Valentine. I'm trying to tell you my boys have got him. They've cornered the Englishman. We're going out there.
He's alive, George. He's all right.
McGee didn't get him. He didn't even get away from here.
Here, a piece of paper.
Oh, for the love of Mike, there's no papers here. McGee would have taken them after he slugged you, don't you see?
George, are you all right? Well, don't try to move.
No, I gotta see it. Piece of paper someplace in here. He said it was.
The wastebasket.
Sure, the wastebasket. I thought there was paper, all right. Hey, it's been burned in the wastebasket.
All right, so he burned it.
Hey, look, how long have I been out?
Just a few minutes.
Yeah, ashes cold, scattered, settled. You want to bet this was burned hours ago?
No, I don't. I just want to get out there where my boys are picking up the Englishman.
Okay, go ahead, Riley. But when I think of how many birthday parties I've been to and how unobservant people can be...
George, what in the name...
Angel, you and I are going to do a little burning ourselves. In fact, here's our chance to prove you can't burn a candle at both ends.
Now, look, Valentine, you have to listen.
Oh, shut up, Beach Boy. I've had enough out of you.
Besides, you're blowing on the candle.
Lieutenant, what on earth is this nonsense?
Well,
yes, I'm perfectly willing to tell you my story. Why it was I seem to be mixed up in this thing.
Thanks, Mr. Layden. You had me worried for a while, but now I'm not interested. What's the time, Angel?
4 minutes.
Uh-huh. About a third gone, isn't it?
But birthday candles, really, old boy.
It's Mrs. Sunderman's birthday, Mr. Layden. Didn't you know?
Huh? Why, no. Why should I?
Englishman, in about 2 seconds.
Okay, McGee, sit still. Now calm down, all of you, will you? Just watch the little candle burn.
That's what Mr. Sunderman was doing, you know, when someone stood outside the kitchen window and shot him.
Uh-huh. He just lit the candles, as a matter of fact. At least the bullet had clipped the top of one of them.
Yes, and the rest of them were just burning out when we got here.
That was about 6:30, wasn't it, Riley?
It was exactly 6:30.
Oh, yes, and when you telephoned, Mrs. Sunderman, when we heard the shot...
That was exactly 6:25.
But look here, Sunderman was killed at 6:25. You told me, Lieutenant, it was the same time when those chaps of yours saw me.
Yes, that's right. Between 6:25 and 6:30 is 5 minutes. How long is it now, Angel?
5 minutes.
You know, it's very funny. Sunderman's candles burned down in 5 minutes. But now this one is just the same, and it isn't even half gone yet.
Well, maybe he lit them earlier.
Or maybe he was shot earlier.
I didn't look at my watch, but I was talking to you on the telephone
yes,
when it
Mrs. Sunderman, I heard something that sounded like a shot as far away as the kitchen. Throw me that pillow, Angel.
Here, George. And, here's the gun.
Thanks. You know, it's pretty easy. You stick a gun into a pillow or something else soft and, well, listen. Maybe that's how you made that sound, Mrs. Sunderman.
No, I didn't kill him. I didn't. I swear I didn't.
He didn't say you killed him.
Of course you didn't. Otherwise, why would you have gone to all that trouble? Oh, no, you were setting up an alibi, weren't you? A perfect alibi for somebody else.
But I was more than a mile away.
Sure. How long is it now, Angel?
7 minutes.
A birthday candle takes a good 10 minutes to burn, Mr. Layden. 10 from 6:30 is 6:20. The real time you killed Mr. Sunderman.
No.
Okay. She gave you a 5-minute head start. You knew that's all you needed to drive your mile for the alibi.
But, Mr. Valentine, you really
can't... Be quiet, stop it!
I won't be quiet. I won't let them railroad me into...
Stop it! Every time you open up your mouth...
You're in it as much as I am, Dora. You egg me on.
No, stop it!
You persuaded me to kill.
Okay, right, there you are. The Guillaume dog and the calico cat.
Now, look here, Valentine.
Yeah. Now we'll let you talk, McGee.
Wait. Let me tell you something, young man. This idea you've got that you can take care of things yourself...
I was only trying to protect Vivi and her father.
Holding back information that only the law should have.
Yeah, but I was on a spot. If you hadn't broken that alibi, Valentine, I would have been a patsy. That's what they picked me for.
I know. You mean you couldn't prove anything? It was your word against theirs. After that paper had been burned.
Yeah, that's right. That's why I wanted to find the Englishman myself.
Well, that paper didn't have anything to do with Vivi, did it?
No, of course not. It was something I just happened to have because I've knocked around in the Orient, because I know a lot of people.
Did you know Layden in the Orient?
Well, I'd met both of them there, him and Dora. But I had no idea they were in the States until I met Vivi, and she showed me a picture of her stepmother.
Uh-huh. And then when Vivi began throwing hints around at home, Dora got worried, huh?
Yeah, that's about it. She knew that Vivi already knew and that Mr. Sunderman was already beginning to guess.
Knew what? Guess what?
What was in the paper? Just a letter, really, but it showed that Osbert Layden was Dora's husband. is Dora's husband.
Oh.
Yeah, a sweet, simple little racket that could have gone on for life. Layden lived on the fat of the land, while his wife was also the wife of a rich guy named Sunderman. A guy whose only wish in life was that everything be nice.
Don't worry, Valentine. The doctors say Vivi will be all right. And I'll be very nice to her.
You know, George, I'm very impressed. Logic and alibis and everything. But really, I could have told you a long time ago that Mrs. Sunderman was just telling us one story after another. That she was a liar.
That she's what do you mean?
Well, after all, didn't you count those candles on her birthday cake? 26, really.
Yeah, but then think how many women in the world tell little lies like that. Yeah, well, I mean... Well, for future reference, exactly how old are you, Brooksy?
Good night, George.
If you were out on a motoring trip last month, I'll bet you thought more than once that your car's engine was getting a lot of wear. But actually, before you start on a trip and after you come back, the engine probably gets its worst beating. That's because 80% of all engine wear occurs in an idle engine, the result of acid-laden moisture forming on cylinder walls the moment you cut the ignition. It's known as internal engine rust, and the one sure way to stop it is to use compounded RPM motor oil. RPM contains an adhering agent which keeps a moisture-proof oil film on cylinder walls. Rust just can't get started, even though your car stands idle for days or weeks. No wonder premium quality RPM is first choice in the West. It's the oil that stops 80% of engine wear. So to protect your car's engine from rust, depend on RPM motor oil. Ask for it at independent Chevron gas stations and standard stations, where they say and mean, we take better care of your car. Next week, George Valentine pays a call on the local sheriff and gets quite a shock when he hears...
Yes. Blood on the fenders, blood on the fenders. Wife ran over Jackrabbit once.
Now, look, Mr. Simpson, you represent the law in this county, and it's...
I know. The boy in the city gave me a call about you.
I asked him to. Now, look, I know blood on a fender can be lots of things. But a guy wouldn't be so touchy about it unless it was human blood, would he?
It was human blood. But you aren't going to do anything about it, Mr. Valentine.
Tonight's adventure of George Valentine has been brought to you by Standard of California on behalf of independent Chevron gas stations and standard stations throughout the West. Robert Bailey is starred as George with Francis Robertson as Brooksy. Wally Meir appears as Lieutenant Riley. Let George Do It is written by David Victor and Jackson Gillis and directed by Don Clark. Also heard in the cast were Herbert Rawlinson as Sunderman, Virginia Eiler as Vivi, Dick Ryan as Mac, Dan O'Herlihy as Layden, Larry Dobkin as McGee, and Shirley Mitchell as Dora. The music is composed and presented by Eddie Dunstetter. Your announcer, John Heaston. Listen again next week, same time, same station, to Let George Do It. This is the Mutual Don Lee Broadcasting System.
Welcome back. Well, I have to admit I was not at all surprised by the outcome of this particular episode. The way that the wife acted from the very first scene really made me suspicious of her. And I've seen enough mysteries to know that that whole hearing the shot on the phone thing is often a very clever device by the writers to give their murderers a plausible alibi for our detectives to break. So I think this one was a little bit of an off episode. But they always pick it up pretty good next week. We got a comment on Let George Do It from Jane, who says, Let George Do It was a slow burn, very well worth growing into. Hadn't come across it anywhere before, and it adds a great balance with some of the hard-boiled and noir shows. Have some more comments. These come from Podcast Alley. Thanks, Adam. Love this podcast. And David V comments, I work in communications, installing antennas and pulling wires, etc. Many days I don't talk to anyone for hours. Your podcasts are the greatest company. Thank you for taking me back to my early years and keeping me company. Keep up the great work. Well, thanks so much, David, and glad to be of service there. Also, I want to say thank you to John and Aaron for a couple of very nice tips to the program. Much appreciated, and as with all tips over $7, we sent information to access our premium site. John wrote, thank you for providing such entertaining podcast. And Aaron says, hi, Adam, love the show. I just started listening, and I'm going in order from the beginning. Well, it'll be a while till you catch us, but thank you anyway on the program. Well, that's it for today. We'll be back tomorrow with Sherlock Holmes. Well, before we get started with today's program, I do want to briefly let you know about Netflix. I was reading a very interesting article out of North Carolina, and it was about a new trend called cord cutting. Cord cutting is when people cancel their cable or satellite service, instead choosing to rely on other services such as Netflix to provide their entertainment. One family that's featured in this story, they estimate they're saving about $90 a month after getting rid of their cable TV and getting Netflix instead. You've got a lot of shows available for unlimited streaming, as well as a huge library of DVDs. So whether you're ready to try cutting the cord or just want to find an inexpensive way to watch the movies and TV shows you love, check out Netflix, netflix.greatdetectives.net, and be sure to take advantage of the free trial. Well, we're going to get into today's episode of Sherlock Holmes, the singular affair of the Coptic compass.
Kreml Hair Tonic and Kreml Shampoo present the new adventures of Sherlock Holmes, starring Nigel Bruce as Dr. Watson and Tom Conway as Sherlock Holmes. Well, here it is, Saturday night again, and time for our weekly visit with that excellent host and incomparable storyteller, Dr. Watson. I'm sure he's waiting for us in the old familiar study, so let's waste no time in joining him.
Good evening, Mr. Bell. You're punctual to the minute, as usual.
You bet I am. When it's time for Dr. Watson to tell a new adventure he had with the immortal Sherlock Holmes, I'm not going to miss a second of it.
Nice of you to say so, my boy. Draw up your usual chair and make yourself comfortable.
Before I sit down, Dr. Watson, you mind if I take a look at the old metal case on the mantelpiece? It wasn't there last week.
No, I placed it there because it played a prominent part in tonight's story. You see, it's a memento of yet another encounter that Sherlock Holmes and I had with the arch-villain of London crime, Professor Moriarty.
But what is it, Dr. Watson? It looks like an old compass.
That's exactly what it is, my boy.
But there are no numerals on it. Just these strange figures around the dial.
Oh, those apparent hieroglyphics helped us to solve one of the most diabolical murders that we ever encountered. I call it the adventure of the half-eaten apple, the Coptic compass, and the unclothed corpse.
I can hardly wait, Doctor.
Oh, I'm sure you'll wait long enough to have a word with our listeners now, won't you, Mr. Bell?
Right. Men, aren't you sick and tired of hair preparations which leave your hair looking and feeling greasy? When you run your hand over your hair, does your hair feel sticky and dirty? Does grease come off on your hand? If so, then now's the time to change to Kreml Hair Tonic. The first thing you'll notice about Kreml is how clean it smells, how clean it looks and feels on your hair and scalp. When you use Kreml, you can run your hand over your hair. And honestly, men, it's a pleasure. Not a trace of that greasy, sticky feeling. Yet you can't beat Kreml to keep hair neatly groomed. You see, Kreml contains a special combination of hair grooming ingredients which is found in no other hair tonic. That's why it keeps hair in place longer, with such a natural, well-groomed appearance. So, men, let Kreml give your hair this handsome, clean-cut look which is bound to make a hit, both on the job and with the ladies. Kreml, Kreml Hair Tonic. Now, Dr. Watson, how's about the compass, the half-eaten apple, and
the unclothed corpse? Well, Mr. Bell, the adventure began on a November morning shortly after the turn of the century. Holmes, seldom one to indulge in exercise for its own sake, had displayed a rare burst of activity and joined me in a stroll through Regent's Park. Just before noon, we retraced our steps, and as we turned the corner into Baker Street, I nearly collided with a tall, well-dressed man walking in the other direction.
Oh, I beg your pardon.
Oh, it's quite all right, sir.
Excuse me. Aren't you Mr. Sherlock Holmes?
I am.
I'm Major Stanley.
Indeed. You're a little early for our appointment, Major Stanley. This is my colleague, Dr. Watson.
How do you do, sir?
Dr. Watson. I am early, Mr. Holmes, and when your housekeeper told me you were still out, I decided to take a stroll.
Then let's walk back together, and perhaps you can tell me your problem as we go.
It isn't exactly my problem, Mr. Holmes. You see, I made decant to the Maharaja of Kasul.
Oh, really? It's a very interesting job, I should imagine.
Yes, it is.
You know, I was in India myself, Peshawar and further north. I was once attacked by...
Quite, Watson. Some other time, don't you think?
Oh, sorry, Holmes.
The Maharaja's problem would seem pressing since his emissary has been so eager to reach us. Please continue, Major Stanley.
Mr. Holmes, have you ever heard of the Star of Kasul?
A fabulously valuable diamond, isn't it?
Yes. It's the treasure of the Maharaja's collection. At the moment, it's in the vaults of the Bank of England.
No, it's the best place for it, I should say. There have been several jewel robberies lately.
So I've been told, and that's why I've come to you, Mr. Holmes. You see, the Maharaja has come to England to have his portrait painted by Sargent.
Your problem becomes apparent, Major Stanley. When this portrait is painted, the Star of Kasul will no doubt be set in the Maharaja's turban. And you quite justifiably feel concerned about the jewel's safety.
Exactly, Mr. Holmes. It must be cleverly and closely guarded on its daily journey from the vaults to the Maharaja's suite and back.
Well, hardly sounds like a job for you, Holmes.
No, Major Stanley. Without wishing to appear conceited, I may say that such a routine matter is rather outside my scope.
The Maharaja insists on having you, Mr. Holmes. I assure you his fee would be princely.
Here we are at 221B. Come in, Major Stanley. We'll discuss the matter further, if you like.
Mrs. Hudson, we're back.
Oh, very well, Doctor. Oh, Mr. Holmes.
Yes, Mrs. Hudson?
There were two gentlemen waiting to see you. Said they had an appointment, but they've gone. Said they'd come back later.
Did they leave their names?
No, sir, they didn't.
That's odd. Thank you, Mrs. Hudson.
Aye, sir.
Let's go upstairs, shall we, Major Stanley?
Very well, Doctor. Regarding your problem, Major Stanley, it occurs to me that Humphrey Pedder might be a good man to see.
Humphrey Pedder?
Yes, I'm not personally acquainted with him, but I'm told that he specializes in the more physical aspects of detective work.
The Maharaja will be very distressed if you refuse him, Mr. Holmes.
Naturally, I wish to... I'm sorry, Major Stanley. I've made my decision. I can't handle the case. See Mr. Pedder, if you will.
But Mr. Holmes, can't we sit down and talk about it, at least?
Yes, Holmes. After all, there's no need to be rude.
I'm afraid not. Good day, Major.
I've heard you were eccentric, Mr. Holmes, but I didn't know how eccentric.
Holmes, what on earth's the matter with you? You ask him up, and then you won't even let him enter the room.
For an excellent reason, Watson. Come inside. Look, there on the floor.
Great heavens.
I could hardly let the emissary of a Raja walk into a room containing a corpse, and an unclothed one at that. Lift the blanket off the face, Watson.
Right you are, huh? There.
Oh, Doctor, the poor man.
Is that the face of one of the men that called here?
Aye, sir, it is.
Cover it again, Watson.
I saw the other one leave, sir. He said his friend had already left. Oh, I never dreamed
This one you saw leaving, was he carrying anything? A bundle, perhaps?
No, sir, he wasn't.
Could you describe him?
Well, he was tall and thin, and he had a
But
high
if he was
forehead.
carrying no bundle, where are the corpse's clothes? There's no sign of them in here.
What a shocking thing, sir. A murder right in your living room. Oh, will I send for the police?
Definitely not, Mrs. Hudson. And please keep this to yourself.
Aye, sir.
When a corpse is deposited on my own carpet, there's a certain point of honor in being able to present the police with a complete explanation when I do call them in. That will be all, Mrs. Hudson.
All right, sir. What's a terrible thing.
Holmes, this is incredible. Why leave a corpse here, and why unclothed?
The obvious reason to remove clothing would be to make identification difficult.
Then how did the murderer get the clothes out of here? Mrs. Hudson said that he wasn't carrying anything.
We have many other questions to answer, old chap. The knife wound in the heart gives us no clue, I'm afraid. But observe the singular collection of objects that are lying beside the body.
Well, let's have a look at them. A railway ticket, a funny-looking compass,
and an apple that has been bitten into.
The corpse has protruding teeth. I bet you that he didn't make the bite in this apple. Holmes, these must be the murderer's tooth marks.
If you're correct, Watson, our murderer is an extraordinary man indeed.
Well, why do you say that?
Because if you look closely, you'll notice the interesting fact that this bite was made by 2 sets of upper teeth.
You're the one, no mistake, Professor Moriarty. 2 sets of upper teeth. Now, that was the best touch.
Yes, Carter. I must confess it was neat. Simple, of course. You start the bite with your upper teeth, reverse the apple, and conclude the bite. Yes, simple, but I trust also somewhat disconcerting for the great Sherlock Holmes. Our past encounters have given me an insight into his very unusual mind.
I'd like to have watched his face when he walked in there, Professor.
So would I. But the next 24 hours will give me little leisure, I fear. I must arrange for a certain matter concerning a change of ownership in the Star of Kasul. This should be a fascinating game.
But the old compass, the railway ticket.
Carter, with your somewhat limited cranial development, it must be hard for you to absorb the subtler points in such a plan, but surely its basic purpose is obvious. Sherlock Holmes is about to be engaged by the Maharaja to guard the jewel. I had to divert his attention, so I perpetrated an intriguing murder on his own doorstep and surrounded the corpse with meaningless and completely unrelated objects which I knew would torment his curiosity and keep him off my trail.
And that corpse would take some explaining to the police, too, Professor.
Yes, that's why I placed it there. It puts him in an acutely embarrassing position. He has to try and solve the case or become the laughing stock of London.
It's one of your neatest jobs, Professor.
Oh, I won't say that, Carter. But I'm quite sure that I've posed a problem that Sherlock Holmes will be totally unable to resist.
I can't resist this problem, Watson. No fee on earth could make me bother with the safety of a mere diamond when such a puzzle presents itself.
On my soul, you talk rather as though you were settling down to a game of chess. You've got to solve this problem, Holmes, or else it's going to put you in a ridiculous position with Scotland Yard. And just think if it got into the papers.
I shall reserve my imagination for the problem posed. The question of the apple is, of course, obvious.
Well, I suppose all you have to do is to find a man with 2 sets of false upper teeth. Very simple.
Quite. The only way such an imprint could be left is to take a half bite with the upper teeth, reverse the apple, and repeat the procedure. The only question here is, why indulge in such a bizarre performance?
Well, whatever the reason, those are the murderer's tooth marks.
Unquestionably. You notice the eaten portion of the apple has only just commenced to turn brown. The bite was undoubtedly taken in this room. But to identify teeth marks is a monumental problem and might prove insoluble. Let's turn our attention to the compass for a moment.
Well, I've never seen one like it. There are no numerals on it, no points of the compass indicated anywhere. Just a lot of funny little squiggles.
Oh, no, Watson. Surely you recall the singular affair of the Coptic patriarchs?
You overrate my memory, Holmes. In any case, I don't even know what a Copt is.
My dear Watson, sometimes you astound me.
Well, it seems to me it takes very little to astound you. I repeat, what is a Copt?
The Copts are the principal Christian race descended from ancient Egyptian stock. What you refer to as squiggles on this compass, in reality, are letters of the Coptic alphabet.
Well, that makes it more confusing than ever. An apple bitten into by an eccentric, and now a compass with ancient Egyptian lettering on it. I just can't see any relation between the two of them.
And yet we know there must be. That's what makes the problem so fascinating.
Well, what does the compass tell you, Holmes?
2 things. The Coptic lettering on the dial is inscribed by hand. Obviously, it was constructed for a Copt who could speak no European language.
Yet the corpse was definitely not of Egyptian origin. I'll wager that he was born not too far away from the sound of bow bells.
I agree, Watson. And so the problem becomes more confusing. Now, let us examine another piece of this fascinating puzzle. The railway ticket.
Well, it's the unused return half of a first-class ticket from the village of Chipping Sodbury to London.
Yes, and the date stamped on the back is November the 6th.
Today?
Yes, Watson, today. Chipping Sodbury is a tiny village. I imagine that the number of passengers that traveled from there to London this morning could be counted on one hand.
You're going to Chipping Sodbury?
Yes. It shouldn't be too hard to find out who purchased this ticket. And while I'm doing that, I want you to stand guard here.
With the corpse?
Yes, Watson. And I suggest that you keep your revolver handy.
My revolver? You mean...
I mean that after what has happened in one short morning in Baker Street, we should be prepared for any eventuality.
In just a moment, we'll see just what eventualities do develop. But first, if you're smart, you'll take better care of the hair you've got. Let me assure you, men, you can't use a better product than Kreml Hair Tonic. This highly specialized hair tonic contains a special combination of hair grooming ingredients which no other hair tonic has. That is why Kreml keeps your hair in place longer. Why your hair always has such a natural, well-groomed appearance, never greasy or sticky. And listen carefully to this, men. Kreml does lots more than keep hair looking handsome. A quick massage with Kreml stimulates the circulation of blood right in the surface of the scalp. Notice how alive, how invigorated, how clean your scalp feels. At the same time, Kreml removes loose dandruff. And if your hair is so dry that it breaks and falls, Kreml actually helps condition the hair by making it feel softer, more pliable. So, men, why be satisfied with a product which merely keeps your hair in place when you can have handsomely groomed hair plus all those extra advantages of Kreml? Buy a bottle as soon as possible at any drug counter. Kreml, Kreml Hair Tonic. Well, Dr. Watson, it seems to me that Professor Moriarty did quite a job in sending you and Sherlock Holmes off on a false trail.
He did, Mr. Bell, and for a while his nefarious plan succeeded. But to take up the story where I left off, while I stood guard in Baker Street over the mysterious corpse, Holmes caught the next train for the tiny village of Chipping Sodbury. He told me that after a talk with the village station master, he had no trouble in tracing the purchaser of the first-class railway ticket that we'd found beside the body. It had been bought by a dignified and elderly clergyman by the name of Russell, and Holmes lost no time in calling on him.
The station master told me, sir, that you were the only person to purchase a return first-class ticket to London this morning.
Yes, Mr. Holmes. I had occasion to make one of my rare excursions to London this morning. But though it was an unfortunate experience for me, I can't think my humble visit to the city could be a matter of any possible interest to you.
I'm very interested in what happened to the return half of your railway ticket, sir.
Very odd you should mention that. A regrettable business. Most regrettable. It was stolen from me by a pickpocket, together with my watch and chain. Didn't notice it until I had occasion to look at the time when I was lunching with the Bishop of St. Luke's.
You've no idea when or where the theft took place, sir?
I walked from the station. The crowds were quite dense, and I do recall being jostled rather heavily on one occasion.
You reported your loss to the police, I suppose?
Naturally, but I have little hope that they'll catch the criminal. Most regrettable business. Cost me a watch and the price of another ticket. An expensive lesson in the frailty of human nature. Do you care for a cup of tea, Mr. Holmes?
No, thank you. I'm afraid I haven't time. I must return to London on the next train. Urgent and unfinished business awaits me there.
We followed Sherlock Holmes to Paddington Station, Professor Moriarty.
Excellent. He caught the train for Chipping Sodbury, no doubt, Carter?
Oh, yes, Professor. A fat lot of good that'll do him, even if he does find the old clergyman we pinched the stuff from.
But it consumed valuable time. Time during which I can complete our plans regarding the Star of Kersul. Before midnight tonight, I think I can safely say that the jewel will be in our hands. How very fortunate that Sherlock Holmes has such a devouring curiosity.
Any luck, Holmes?
A waste of valuable time, Watson. I found the purchaser of the ticket all right. The return half, together with his watch, had been stolen by a pickpocket.
Oh, Lord, so that means we start all over again.
No, Watson. At least one clue has been eliminated. Let us analyze the remaining ones more thoroughly. Now, the problem of the Coptic compass should next engage our attention. A call on the Egyptian embassy might prove illuminating.
You know, Holmes, while you were away, I had a brainwave.
Congratulations.
It was connected with the missing clothes from the corpse. Where, I asked myself, where would be the obvious place to hide clothes? Why, in the clothes closet, of course. So I searched both our wardrobes absolutely thoroughly. They weren't there.
Interesting, Watson. Of course, I'd already done the same thing.
Oh,
The problem of the missing clothes is still... Numbskull!
Yes, Holmes?
Why didn't I think of it before?
What is it, Holmes?
The special wardrobe that I keep for my disguises, in the dressing room. Come on, Watson.
By Jove, yes, I never thought of that.
Perfect place for hiding the dead man's clothes. Let's see if there have been any recent additions to this Raggledy collection of mine. Costa's outfit.
And there's the clergyman's suit. You always made a surprisingly convincing clergyman, Holmes.
And here's the unfailing passport to many a servant's back door. The stained and roughened worsteds of the English plumber. Yes, these patched and frayed ghosts could tell many a tale of... Hello. Look here, Watson.
Plain blue suit in rather good condition.
Quite. And it doesn't belong in my collection. I think we've solved the mystery of the vanishing clothes.
The labels have been ripped out of the coat.
Yes, and the pockets emptied. All possible identification removed. We're getting warm, Watson. We're getting very warm. Wait a minute.
What is it?
Give me a knife.
All right, sure.
There's something in the lining of this coat. Feels like paper. Perhaps the murderer didn't remove all identification after all.
Here you are. These scissors will do the trick.
Splendid. There we are.
Piece of paper sewn to the padding of the coat.
Yes. Let's see what it tells us. Humphrey Pedder, 118 Montague Crescent, Knightsbridge.
That's the private detective you were talking about earlier on today. Do you suppose that Pedder's the corpse?
At this stage, Watson, I shall suppose nothing. We'll go to Montague Crescent and find out for ourselves.
Mr. Pedder, I can't say how glad I am that we found you alive and well.
From what you gentlemen have told me, Doctor, I feel glad myself to be here.
Is it your custom to have an extra identification label sewn into all your clothes, Mr. Pedder?
Yes, Mr. Holmes. A detective never knows what may happen to him. I've always felt such identification might be valuable.
A very sound precaution.
Thank you, sir.
And you say that a suit of your clothes was stolen from your wardrobe last night?
Yes, and I can't unearth a clue. Embarrassing situation for a detective, Mr. Holmes.
Yes, it certainly is.
Though I'm sure in your position you've never had a thing like that happen to you.
I doubt, Mr. Pedder, if you know just how embarrassing a detective's life may become.
Yes, indeed. Take our present situation, for instance.
Quite, Watson. Mr. Pedder.
I can't get a word in edgeways.
Did Major Stanley call on you today? I suggested that you would be eminently suited to the task of guarding the Maharaja's diamond.
Yes, Mr. Holmes. I'm going over to the Savoy tonight to talk to the Maharaja. Much obliged to you for giving me the recommendation, particularly since I've never had the privilege of meeting you.
I'd heard very flattering reports of your ability.
I'm very glad, Mr. Holmes. Your recommendation means a lot to me.
Well, Holmes, we've drawn another blank.
Yes, Watson. I fear we must return to Baker Street and see if an ancient compass can point the way to the solution.
Where to, sir?
The Egyptian Embassy in Grosvenor Square, cabby.
What's your Abbott?
Jump in, Watson.
I feel a blasted fool trotting around London with a Coptic compass under my arm. I hope this leads us somewhere.
If the excursion proves fruitless, Watson, I'm afraid I shall be compelled to get in touch with Scotland Yard. A few hours' delay in reporting a murder can be explained, but beyond that, we may find ourselves in trouble.
Well, I think you should have reported it before this. By the way, Holmes, did you notice the brougham and pair that drove up to Pedder's house just as we left?
I'm afraid for once I was sufficiently preoccupied to yield to you in observation, my dear Watson.
I'm not certain, but I thought that it was Major Stanley who stepped out of it.
Major Stanley? And yet Mr. Pedder said that... But of course! What an idiot I've been! Cabby! Cabby!
Yes, sir?
Turn around and drive us to the Savoy Hotel as fast as you can.
Right, you are,
But why the Savoy Hotel, Holmes?
Surely the situation is crystal clear now, Watson.
Just about as clear as porridge to me.
The whole thing's a plot to fool me. Tell me, Watson, what is suggested to you by the combination of an unclothed corpse, a stolen suit, and a railroad ticket?
Well, if I knew the answer, Holmes, I'd have given it to you this morning and saved ourselves a lot of trouble.
The answer, Watson, is organization. A group of well-organized criminals who are able to perform these unrelated tasks. And who is the only person in London who can arrange for running the criminal gamut from murder to plain pickpocketing? Moriarty.
Professor Moriarty?
Of course. Remember Mrs. Hudson's description of our visitor? Tall, thin, and with a high forehead. And if you add organization and Moriarty to Major Stanley, the Maharaja of Kasul, and a portrait painter, the sum total should be apparent.
You mean that you've solved the problem of the unclothed corpse?
I mean I know precisely how Professor Moriarty intends to steal the Star of Kasul. Faster, cabby. There's not a moment to lose.
Mr. Holmes, it's an astonishing story you've told me.
At least it explains my apparent rudeness this morning, Major Stanley.
You can appreciate the embarrassing position in which my friend was placed, sir.
Yes, indeed. But of course you understand that Mr. Pedder here is now in charge of guarding the Star of Kasul.
Quite, Major. And you're in very excellent hands, I'm sure.
Thank you, Mr. Holmes. But your own problem still fascinates me. The unclothed corpse, the compass, and the apple. As the humble exponent of your profession, I'm curious to see how you arrived at your conclusions.
I reached them only just in time, Mr. Pedder. If I hadn't, I should at this moment be paying a fruitless visit to the Egyptian embassy.
Well, I'm still confused, Holmes.
And yet the answer is simple. What was outstanding about the crime committed at Baker Street? What was its individual peculiarity?
Well, I suppose the air of mystery that surrounded it.
I prefer to use the word mystification. The crime fascinated me, stimulated me, as Professor Moriarty hoped it would, until I realized that it was intended to do precisely that. The whole plan was a decoy, designed to prevent me from accepting your mission, Major Stanley. How could I accept such a commonplace job as guarding a jewel while such a fascinating problem was presented in my own living room?
And the apple and the compass
Fictional clues that led nowhere, but were sufficiently challenging for the criminal to know I wouldn't be able to resist tracking them down.
It's an amazing plot.
Then the railway ticket and the suit of clothes that was stolen from me were all meant to focus your attention elsewhere and away from the diamond.
Exactly, Mr. Pedder.
Well, Mr. Holmes, I assure you we're very grateful for the warning.
Yes. We shall be more than ever on our guard now. We know where the danger's coming from. Professor Moriarty. I'm taking the Star of Kasul back to the Bank of England in a few minutes. I assure you that I shall guard it extremely well.
I think, Mr. Pedder, that if you don't mind, I'll take charge of the stone.
But, Mr. Holmes, I've already been commissioned for the work.
That's true, Mr. Holmes. Since you refused the job, I had to make other arrangements. Mr. Pedder, was your own suggestion for the assignment.
Nonetheless, Major, I think the Maharaja will sleep much more comfortably if I take charge of the stone.
Holmes, I don't think that's very ethical. After all, you did refuse to take on the case, you know.
This is hardly a time for ethics, Watson. Where is the Star of Kasul, Major Stanley?
I just handed it over to Mr. Pedder before you arrived.
Then supposing you give it to me, Mr. Pedder. By the way, I don't have the pleasure of knowing your real name.
But Holmes, he's Humphrey Pedder.
Oh, no, Watson. The unclothed corpse of Humphrey Pedder still lies in Baker Street. This is one of Professor Moriarty's most trusted henchmen.
You're too smart for your own good.
Look out, he's got a revolver.
A little slow in drawing it.
A beautiful uppercut, Holmes.
Send for the police, please, Major Stanley. We have a prize catch for them here.
Yes, Mr. Holmes. I can't tell you how grateful I am.
I'll take the liberty of removing the diamond from the pocket of our recumbent friend. There we are. Behold, Watson, the Star of Kasul.
What a magnificent stone.
Magnificent. And yet one man was murdered for it. I only wish another might hang because of it.
But Moriarty still goes free, and he killed Pedder.
We'll catch him, Watson. We'll catch him. He is getting clumsy. If he'd noticed the credentials in Pedder's clothes, he would have been in possession of this bauble before the night is out.
Instead of which, the evidence of this man here may help us to trap him.
I hope so, Watson. But Moriarty inspires his henchmen with such loyalty that I doubt if he'll give us much help. The jewel is safe, our own peculiar problem is solved, and we've captured a prize villain. Next time, we shall capture the master himself.
Did you, Dr. Watson?
Did I what, Mr. Bell?
Did you and Holmes finally capture Professor Moriarty, the master himself?
No, Mr. Bell. Haven't you got a word for our listeners?
Yes, I have. In just a moment, Dr. Watson will be back to tell us about next week's story. Girls, here's some advice from one of America's foremost beauty authorities, John Robert Powers. Mr. Powers tells his famous $1 million Powers models to use only Kreml shampoo to wash their hair.
And how right Mr. Powers is. Because Kreml shampoo has been especially developed to glamour bathe each tiny strand of hair to its own natural, glossy luster. It leaves the hair shining bright for days. Just a vision of beauty.
You know, Kreml shampoo is great for washing children's hair, too.
Yes.
Its luxurious active foam thoroughly cleanses the hair and scalp and removes all loose dandruff as well as the dirt. Kreml shampoo never dries the hair. So, ladies, buy a bottle at any drug counter. See how easy it is to glamour bathe your hair to its natural shining glory. Kreml. Kreml shampoo. Now, Dr. Watson, what about next week?
Well, now, next week I think I'll tell you a story about a dowager dip.
A dowager dip? What on earth's that?
That's a slang way of saying that our story concerns the Dowager Duchess of Penfield, who had the misfortune of being a kleptomaniac. And the story also concerns the strange, and I must admit, embarrassing adventure of the elusive emerald.
Tonight's new Sherlock Holmes adventure was suggested by an incident in Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's story, The Final Problem. Nigel Bruce appeared by permission of California Pictures. Tom Conway through the courtesy of Eagle Lion Pictures. This is Joseph Bell speaking for Kreml Hair Tonic and Kreml Shampoo, and inviting you to be with us next week at this same time, when Dr. Watson will tell us about the adventure of the elusive emerald. This is ABC, the American Broadcasting Company.
Welcome back. I think the one fatal flaw in Moriarty's plan was that there was no pattern for Holmes to follow. Trying to distract Sherlock Holmes by giving him a case that appeals to his vanity is certainly not a new tactic for Professor Moriarty to take. We saw that, for example, if you saw the second Sherlock Holmes movie, The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. That's the second one with Basil Rathbone. Very much centered on that same idea. So all we can really say for our villain here was that he had a good idea ruined by poor execution. Well, we do have a listener voicemail to play, and we'll go ahead and we'll take a listen to that, and then we'll come back.
Hey, Adam, this is Dan calling from Greensburg, Louisiana. Look, I just wanted to say I really enjoy the show. I listen to it going and coming from work, and I like your commentary. When I first started listening to the show, it seemed like you could get a little long, but after listening to the show for many, many months, I enjoy it. I like learning a little bit about each program and about the characters involved, and I hope you keep it up. And I like the kind of unpolished nature of the whole thing. It makes them feel real and sincere, and shows that you really care about what you're doing. Anyway, I just appreciate your hard work. I bought the app, and
well, thank you so much for your kind comments and for purchasing our app. Much appreciated on both counts. If you would like to leave a message for the show, just give us a call, 208-991-4783. Now we turn to some comments on Pat Novak for Hire, which was a show we did for the first 18 weeks of the great detectives of old-time radio. Jane comments, this is my favorite radio site with the exception of BBC Radio 4 and BBC World Services. It's a total joy, and Adam Graham's intros and end pieces inform and enhance one's knowledge and appreciation immensely. He has added the very best shows of their genre. Thanks to him, I'm expanding onto shows I've never heard of. Big thanks to him for the experience of Jack Webb and Pat Novak and his delightful sidekick, Jocko. There is dialogue and one-liners to die for in the scripts. Thank you. And regarding our piece on Pat Novak for Hire, we did a page just giving details of every series we do of any length. She says, this is a pithy, informative, and elegantly written essay on Pat Novak for hire. And much like an oasis in the desert, as the show and info is a mysteriously well-hidden secret. First heard it on The Great Detectives, having tuned in for specific shows. When this rolled by, I was dozing off to sleep. Not for long. I crashed awake, not believing what I'd been hearing. Putting the dialogue down to a surrealistic twilight illumination of the gods. Getting up to rerun the show, crossed a Rubicon, and now it's a passion. Jack Webb and everything about the show is unique. Richard Breen's writing, everyone has said it already. Jocko must be the most sublime wordsmith on the airwaves. Serendipity treasure trove. Big thank you, Adam. And then she emails, she loves the tutorials and essays and the various radio shows. I'm in Britain, and they give so much in-depth knowledge and info on the people and heritage of radio broadcasting in America at that time. The specific questions here are, do you know how many episodes of Pat Novak for hire shows have survived? How many did Jack Webb make? And how many are in your repertoire in Great Detectives? Well, I'll start with the question of how many did Jack Webb make? Due to the fact that we don't necessarily have complete reporting, it's kind of hard to tell for sure. But Dennis at the Digital Deli estimates that Jack Webb did 26 episodes of Pat Novak for hire in San Francisco. He could have done one or two more either way, but not too many more, because Dennis puts Pat Novak's, Jack Webb's departure from Pat Novak in February, and it was in April that he started his next show, Johnny Madero. So about 46 were made. In terms of how many we have available to us with Jack Webb, we have a total of 19, of which we played 18. I skipped one because it was an exact facsimile of another episode. You couldn't tell it apart other than you had a different actor playing Hellman, and you didn't have the sponsor Gallenkamp. And there are a few episodes, 4 episodes that survive from an era when Ben Morris did Pat Novak for hire, but I've never thought much of those because Richard Breen had left, Jack Webb had left, and so what you had going on with the Pat Novak for hires that were without Webb is you had both writers and actors trying to do something they didn't really know how to do, and it didn't work out well. Of course, how many actually survive, we don't know. Some of these shows are kept by collectors in their own personal sets, and they're simply not available to the public. But the ones that are in public circulation, it's 19 episodes. So thanks for that question. She says, I've developed a real passion for the show, and I'm spacing out listening and rationing myself in case there are only a few. A nosy question, are you a National Radio Archivist? Have you written a book on these iconic classic American radio shows? If not yet, I would be first in line at the bookstore if you have future plans. Well, thanks, Jane. I've definitely given some thought to the book, and I appreciate the encouragement. No, I don't have any specific plans at the moment. I don't think we have official radio archivists. I'm pretty much self-taught and self-researching when it comes to digging up information. I guess I'm a detective show detective. Finally, we have this from Sean. Says, hey, Adam, as a Jack Webb fan, I just caught a Pat Novak reference while listening to The Adventures of Sam Spade. In the episode The Apple of Eve Caper, at about the 1830 mark, Sam is talking to an old seas captain whose character is very reminiscent of Jocko Madigan. Sam is looking to charter a book, and the old sea captain mentions that he could try that Novak fella, but he's probably sleeping one off. If you search iTunes for the episode, you should be able to find it and listen to the scene for yourself. Thanks so much, Sean. I think I have heard that. I may have played it back during the Pat Novak run. I know that I did play another clip that referenced Johnny Madero. So Sam Spade definitely played with doing that. Well, that'll do it for now. Well, if you have the app or our premium site, we have got an extra special app bonus for this month. It is Edmund O'Brien playing the same role that Humphrey Bogart did in Treasure of the Sierra Madre. It's a 1955 Lux Radio Theater presentation of The Treasure of the Sierra Madre, and it is available for your listening pleasure. If you have the app, either for the iPhone or for the Android phone, or if you're one of our premium subscribers, which you can get to be by just clicking the donate button and leaving a tip of $7 or more. And that'll do you for life. Well, before we do get into today's episode of yours truly, Johnny Dollar, I do want to remind you, as you make your travel plans for the new year, maybe you're going to fly out in April to see the start of the baseball season, or you got a business trip planned. Remember to check out JohnnyDollarAir.com. You can either name your own price or choose from a wide variety of published specials on travel expenses, including hotels, rental cars, and airline tickets, plus you help to support the show. All right, well, we're going to get into today's episode of yours truly, Johnny Dollar, the David Rockey matter.
From Hollywood, it's time now for Edmund O'Brien as...
Johnny Dollar.
Mr. Dollar, this is Miss Beale at the travel office calling back. I got your plane space all right.
Oh, good. Wait till I get a pencil. Okay.
You leave Idlewild tomorrow morning at 9 on National Flight 405, and you reach New Orleans tomorrow evening at 5:01.
5:01. Got it.
You'll have to stay in New Orleans overnight, and the earliest flight I could get out of there is Pan American number 701 the next morning at 8.
8 o'clock.
That'll put you in Managua at 5:50 that evening, and there's a train from there to San Juan del Sur.
Oh, that part of it should be fun.
The fare one way, including tax, is $216.55. Why'd you buy a round trip?
Well, just habit, I guess, superstition. I don't like to presume I'm going to get back from any of these trips I make. That would really be asking for trouble.
Edmund O'Brien in another adventure of the man with the action-packed expense account, America's fabulous freelance insurance investigator.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Expense account submitted by Special Investigator Johnny Dollar to Britannia Life Insurance Company, Hartford, Connecticut. The following is an accounting of expenditures during my investigation of the David Rockey matter. Expense account item 1, $4.50, transportation from Hartford to New York City. Item 2, $1.20 cab fare to the hiring hall of the National Maritime Union.
Tom?
I talked with you on the phone, Mr. Richter. Dollar?
Oh, yeah. Well, like I told you then, your man is in San Juan del Sur. Or if he left, we don't know about it.
I hope he's there. I've got plane reservations.
I called the Edwardson line. That's the outfit he was sailing for. I want to double-check on our records, and theirs are the same. He missed his sailing in San Juan del Sur. They signed on a local man as far as Panama.
The ship was the Lyle Edwardson?
That's it.
Can you give me anything that would help identify him?
Well, here's his signature and his last job assignment card.
Oh. Can I keep this?
I guess so, sure.
Thanks.
Let's see, here's his membership book number, 146544.
All right. Would you happen to have any photographs in your file?
No, but the Coast Guard office would, on his certificate of identification and certificate of service. They'll both be in a file on him over there.
Good, that's what I need. I wouldn't know him if I did find him.
I'll fix you up. Naturally, I'm curious. You flying all the way down to that port. What do you want with this David Rockey? Mind telling me?
He just became a millionaire.
What?
Well, when Rockey was a kid, he was adopted by a Titus Morgan in Boston. Wealthy man. He just died, leaving everything to Rockey.
How do you like that?
$1.5 million, including $50,000 in insurance. That put me on the case.
How would you like to get some news like that?
I don't think I could take it. Well, thanks a lot, Mr. Rickard.
That was nothing. When you find this guy, ask him if he can spare a few bucks for the seaman's home, will you?
From the Coast Guard documents on David Rockey, I memorized his picture, and the next morning, I left New York. Expense account item 3, $297, fare and incidentals to Managua. Item 4, $35, a charter plane I finally arranged for the next day that put me in San Juan del Sur at 3 o'clock the next afternoon. I found hotel accommodations and then looked up the local office of David Rockey's last employers, the Edwardson Steamship Lines.
That's it. Oh. Good afternoon.
Hello. My name is Dahl. I just arrived from Hartford, Connecticut.
Well. My name is Wall. Clayton Wall. How do you do?
The Wall?
Why on earth would anyone leave Hartford to come to a place like this?
I'm an insurance investigator. I was sent down here to find a seaman who sailed on one of your ships, David Rockey. Remember him?
Oh, yes. Certainly I remember him. Did you say insurance investigator?
That's right. Why did you ask that?
Why, just wondered. What do you want with him?
He has some money coming from a policy and an estate.
Oh. I think I'd go back to Hartford, Mr. Dollar.
Why?
David Rockey is not in a position to hear about money up in the States.
Oh?
He's in jail. He's being charged with murder.
Oh, I see. When did this happen?
Well, I'm afraid I don't have all the particulars. The papers, they aren't famous here for accurate reporting. But he missed his ship, you know. That was not quite 2 weeks ago.
Yes, I've been told that.
I believe the reason was a drinking bout. And as a result of it, this employee of ours, a Nicaraguan, was killed. Stabbed to death, I believe.
Why didn't anybody know about this in New York? Your union or your company?
Things move very slowly down here.
Well, you must be in contact with your New York office.
My communications are of a purely business nature, Mr. Dollar. I suppose that sounds rather inhumane.
Yes, matter of fact, it does.
This office handles many thousands of dollars each year for the company, and I have to protect its position.
You mean that's why you didn't report this trouble of Rockey's?
If I had, it would have meant interference with the officials.
And that wouldn't have been good for you?
It would not. One who wants to continue in business here doesn't interfere with the Guardia Nacional. It is both military and police. And like in all countries, they have legal procedures.
I take it you haven't seen Rockey since he was arrested?
No, I haven't.
Well, I hope you don't mind if I do.
I'll be blunt with you. As long as the interference doesn't stem from this office, I think it's highly in order. I wish you luck, Mr. Dollar. And I'd like to have you tell me how you come out. I'm not as heartless as I sound.
No, sure. Just a good businessman. Before I tackled them, I learned what I could about the police setup in Nicaragua. The Guardia had been organized originally by American Army and Marine officers. A lot of what I dug up would have been good news to criminals, a couple of thousand men enforcing laws in the country about the size of New York State. But at least it looked like I'd find somebody who could speak English. I did, but that was all there was in my favor.
You cannot talk to him. He's a prisoner, and I will not have people talk to him.
Why not, Sergeant? Why don't you want me to see him?
It's for me to say. That is my order.
You're an important man, I understand that, but there are some who are more important.
What do you say?
You're evidently used to dealing with people who are afraid of you. I don't have any reason to be afraid of you.
Important? I do not understand. And fear?
I'm here under the proper papers. They give me certain rights. David Rockey was under papers, too. He has rights. Does he have a lawyer?
He does not want one.
That's difficult to believe.
You think I lie?
I think you'd better let me go see him.
No. He's a prisoner.
Prisoner or not, he has a right to see me. I'll go to the American consul in Managua if I have to. You must know where he'll go, to your superior officers. You can't do this because of personal feelings, Sergeant.
Just 10 minutes, no more.
Thanks. Maybe that'll be enough.
Who is it?
Don't you have a light?
No. Who is it?
My name is Dollar, Rockey. I came down from the States to find you.
That's a laugh. I know how these things go. They haven't even heard about it up there, so why should anybody come looking for me?
Titus Morgan died.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that. What does that have to do with it?
He, left you a little money. Some insurance. Company wanted to find you so they could clear their books.
This a fact?
Yeah. What about this murder charge?
If you've been outside, you know more about it than I do.
This is where I woke up, and this is where I've been. I don't know what's going on.
What do you mean, this is where you woke up?
I got drunk. I don't remember getting here.
You know about the murder charge?
Oh, yeah, they told me about that.
What happened?
I don't know. I drank too much. It almost seems like I got a mickey.
Did you kill this guy?
Are you on the level?
Certainly I am. Here, hold my wallet while I get a knife. That's my operating license. My cards are inside.
Connecticut. It's close to home. Sorry I was so suspicious, but you could have been working for the police, coming in here to give me some false hope and make me blab.
What about the killing?
I don't remember. I don't know what happened. His name was Sagasa. He was foreman of the longshoreman crew that loaded us.
I know that.
Well, I didn't have to stand watch that night, so I went with him. I've done it before. I know him. There were all these drinks at his place finally with his wife. I remember midnight, but not much after that, except half remembering going to bed because I was so stiff.
You went to bed there?
I'm not even sure of that. I think so. I don't remember going anyplace else. And believe me, I've been trying to.
What then?
I don't know. Almost like a nightmare. I can remember the police being there. In the morning, I was here. And that Sergeant Ortega won't tell me what's going on or let me see anybody. I don't even know how he was killed.
He'd been stabbed. He was lying on the floor in the middle of the front room.
I wouldn't have any reason to kill Emiliano.
You remember who was with you?
Yeah, there was his wife, as I said.
What's her name?
Misha.
Tell me about her.
Well, there's nothing about her. She's Sagasa's wife. After I met him, I met her. I've made this port quite a few times and got to know them both.
Mm-hmm. Who else was with you?
2 other men. One was Dave Light. He was a crew member of the ship, so he's gone. The other is Chris Binstead. He's in charge of the warehouses here for the Edwards and Company. Then there was another girl, Alicia. I don't know where she came from.
I'll find out.
You're really going to look into it?
Yeah. I don't see an American sitting here in a black cell without somebody helping him.
I won't say I've been praying, but if I had been, you'd sure be the answer to them.
I'll let you know what I find out.
And Mr. Morgan died.
That's right.
He was a great man. I wish I'd stayed home.
I'll try to see you tomorrow night. Hey, let me out. I couldn't see him. The cell was that dark. But when the door clanged shut behind me, I realized the irony of the situation. The heir to $1.5 million fortune in a jail cell in Nicaragua without rights, privileges, or even light.
We will return you to the second act of yours truly, Johnny Dollar, in just a moment. Every Saturday night, Americans from coast to coast play Sing It Again. Do you? Well, if you don't know the fun and excitement you're missing. Prizes galore, plus a special jackpot prize if you can name the Phantom Voice. So stay at home, play at home on Saturday nights, when over many of the same CBS stations, and Seymour says it's Sing It Again. Now, with our star, Edmund O'Brien, we return you to the second act of yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Now you saw the prisoner, don't trouble me no more.
He told me he wouldn't have any reason to kill the man, Sergeant.
That's what he said.
And that he doesn't remember killing him.
That's what he said, too, and why?
He says he was drunk, yes. But he remembers other things, like the police being there. Seems to me he'd remember killing somebody.
Why you think he tell the truth if he do remember?
It just seems to me that he was telling the truth.
You are too innocent, senor.
Maybe. But I'd like to know what you've got on him.
I do not understand.
Well, what are you building your case on? Just the fact that he says he doesn't remember? He says he'd have no reason to kill Emiliano. What motive are you using?
Motive? The wife.
You mean there was something between Rockey and the wife?
To herself, she is a cat, and all men, they are mice for her.
All right, that's something. It wouldn't be enough in my country.
No?
That's nothing but the vaguest kind of circumstantial evidence. Don't you have anything real? The murder weapon, for example?
It was not found.
What about the fatal wounds, then? What kind of a knife made them, do you think?
It was a wide knife.
Uh-huh. As a seaman, Rockey could have been carrying a knife, but it would have been a small one. Did you think of that?
We searched him. He did not have a knife. He threw it away.
How do you know he threw it
He
away?
did not have it. You believe in his lies. I tell you what the people say who were with him.
I don't want to hear your version of what they said. I'll talk to them myself.
No, you do not. You do not interfere.
Look, as far as you're concerned, he's guilty until he can be proved innocent. And you don't want anybody to try and do that. Now, don't try to stop me, Sergeant. If you don't want your superiors on your neck.
You'll be in trouble, too. You aren't careful.
My first move was to get a cable off to Hartford advising the company of the situation and suggesting that the Titus Morgan estate send a lawyer to San Juan del Sur as quickly as possible. By then it was 5 p.m. Through Clayton Wall in the Edwardson office, I found the address of the Sagasa widow, one in a section of houses that the company had improved for their employees. Mrs. Sagasa was an attractive, unusually fair-skinned woman of maybe 23 or 4, who was outside enjoying the moist wind of evening when I arrived. She, too, spoke English.
The company taught me. I work there.
It seems to be a good company. Does a lot for its San Juan people.
Sometimes I think it is good, but then sometimes I think it would be better never to know any Americans. But they bring me many presents from America.
David Rockey and who else?
The other sailor from the ship, the one named David.
Light?
Yes, that one too, and one called Robert.
What did your husband say about all these presents? Didn't he mind?
Only sometimes he was angry. He would say, "You are my wife, you don't take these things." And I say, "Yes, Emiliano, I'm your wife, and these things don't change that." And he would smile, and he was not angry anymore.
Is he angry about David Rockey?
Sometimes.
You know he's in jail, don't you?
Yes, no.
Did you see him kill your husband?
No.
I understand you were here.
Yes, I was here with Alicia. We came out here, it was hot inside.
Oh. And the men were still inside, huh? Dave Light and Rockey and your husband?
Yes.
And there was one other, wasn't there? What was his name, Binstead?
Yes, Chris Binstead.
Did you hear anything from out here?
Well, no, only talking.
All of them talking?
I think so.
David Rockey thinks he remembers lying down while he was here.
I think he stood up.
He was up when you came out of your house?
Yes, I think so. It was... Well, there was a lot of rum.
Yes, I know. Had there been any trouble? Any arguments?
No, I don't think so.
Don't you remember?
There was only trouble when Chris ran out. Then Emiliano stayed.
What did Chris say?
He said, "Dave, he caught Emiliano."
Dave who?
Only Dave.
Could he have meant Dave Light?
Well, I don't know.
Was Dave Light still in the house?
No, he was gone to bring the Guardia.
Look, it's very important that I learn all the truth about what happened. The Guardia have made up their minds that David Rockey killed your husband. If he did, he'll be punished. But if he didn't, that's got to be proved. I came here to tell him that, well, that he had a new life to live.
New life? What does this mean, it's new life?
David Rockey is a rich man in America now.
Rich man?
You know how much $1 million is?
No.
Well, it's more than you or your children or your grandchildren could ever spend here in San Juan. David Rockey has more than that now. He doesn't know. I came here to tell him about it. But when I found out about your husband, I didn't.
Oh, no. He would surely curse God if you told him.
You understand now why I have to learn the truth, don't you?
Yes.
All right. Then will you take me into your house and try to remember everything that happened before you and Alicia went outside? Another Edwardson ship had docked that evening, and I found Chris Binstead on the wharf supervising the placement of the cargo that was streaming into the warehouse. He didn't want to, but he turned his job over to a helper and led me up some stairs to his office in the loft of the building.
I don't quite get your being down here. You say Dave Rockey came into some money, huh?
Yeah, a little. From an insurance policy.
Somebody in his family?
He didn't have any family.
That's what I thought. He never talked about having a home or anything. Did you get in to see him?
Yeah, I saw him. It's a whale of a spot he's in.
Yeah. I feel sorry for him, but what else can you expect?
Did you see him kill Sagasa, Chris?
Yeah. And I don't want to see anything like that again.
What happened exactly?
Well, the whole thing was that everybody had been drinking too much. He passed out and laid down on a cot. If he'd stayed there, everything would have been all right. But Misha, she's nothing but a package of trouble anyway. She had to go over and try to wake him up. She said something that got her husband started.
What do you mean, started?
Riled up, something personal. So he goes over and dumps Rockey on the floor and tells him to get out and not come back. Rockey hit him once and then went out in the kitchen, got the knife, came back.
Misha told me she was outside.
Yeah, she was. I sent both the women out when the trouble started.
She said there hadn't been any trouble.
She knows better than that.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, I can't see why she'd lie.
I never figured them out, any of them. Anyway, Rockey came back with a knife, and they called each other some names, and then all of a sudden there was Emiliano on the floor.
Then what?
Yeah, that was the end of it. Went and told Misha what had happened. Dave Light went after the Guardia.
What did you say to Misha?
Oh, I just told her that Rockey had killed her husband.
She says you told her Dave did, that you didn't say Rockey.
Well, maybe I did say Dave, but I meant Dave Rockey. What are you pressing me for?
I'm just trying to find out what happened.
I told you what happened.
How about this Dave Light? How come he was able to climb aboard his ship and leave?
He reported the thing. Mr. Wall at the main office talked to the Guardia, and they let him go. What is all this, Dollar? You got the facts.
It's funny that David Rockey doesn't remember killing him.
Is that what he says? He doesn't remember?
A man who does a thing like that when he's blind drunk is usually following his subconscious mind. That would mean that when he's sober, he probably would have thought about killing Emiliano.
So?
That would mean that the motive might be the elimination of the husband. Now, I can't figure a seaman who's here in San Juan only a few days at a time even thinking of going to these lengths to get rid of Misha's husband.
What are you driving at, Dollar?
I'm thinking out loud, I guess. Why?
That'd better be all.
I guess you have to get back to work, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks a lot for seeing me. It was coal black when I left and made my way on foot back to my hotel. A message was waiting for me at the desk. Please phone Mr. Clayton Wall.
Oh, Mr. Dollar, I've been waiting for you to call.
Yes, Mr. Wall, what is it?
The widow Micha came to my house. She wanted to get in touch with you.
That's funny. I gave her my hotel.
You were out and she couldn't find you.
Oh, yeah, maybe that's it. What does she want?
She didn't tell me, but she'll be at her house and would like to have you come there.
All right, I'll go right over. Mr. Dollar.
Why you don't come before this?
Well, I was busy asking questions. I saw Chris Binstead.
What did he say?
Hard to tell the lies from the alcoholic confusion.
I don't understand you.
I don't understand it either, Misha. Well, why'd you want to see me?
I found the knife.
Oh? Where?
Behind that
chest?
Yes. It's there. I didn't touch it.
Why wasn't it found before?
The Guardia, they didn't look.
How did you happen to find it?
I don't know. After you leave, I started to think, and something told me, look there.
Now tell me the truth, Misha.
I tell the truth.
You want to help David Rockey?
If I can help.
All right. Then don't say anything about finding the knife. Not to anybody.
I don't tell.
You didn't tell Mr. Wall?
He asked me, but I don't tell.
All right, leave it that way. Don't say anything to anybody. I slept after that, almost the first sleep I'd had since I left New York. And the first thing the next morning, I arranged for another charter plane to Managua. In it, I sent the murder weapon and the only other thing I could think of that carried David Rockey's fingerprints. My wallet that he'd held while I showed him my identification. After a meal that passed for breakfast, I went back to see him.
I've been going crazy in here. What have you found out?
Not much. Some of it good, some bad. We'll have to wait till this afternoon to do any more.
Seems like this is a hangover I'm never going to get over. The times I haven't been going crazy, I've been thinking of Mr. Morgan. How did he die?
Heart.
He wasn't very old. I keep remembering what he said when I left, that That there were two worlds and that I was picking the wrong one. He adopted me, you know.
Yeah. I talked to his lawyers, but I didn't get the whole story.
Doesn't make any difference, I guess, except that I could have made him a lot happier than I did. He had a son of his own that got killed in an auto accident when he was 14. The mother, too.
I didn't know that.
I was the same age, and I was supposed to take his son's place. Mr. Morgan found me in a state home, took me in. Gave me everything, put me through school, high school.
Why did you leave him?
Guess I'd lived too long in the other world or something. I always felt like an outsider. Then the war came along, and I went into the merchant marine.
How old are you now, Rocky?
27. I went back after the war, but I wasn't cut out for it, I guess. Tuxedos and formal dinners and dames I didn't understand. The rest of the people who never seemed to say what they were thinking.
Yeah, there were plenty of those.
I tried because I knew Mr. Morgan wanted me to. There was just something rough in me that I couldn't hold down. And there were a couple of things with these stuffed shirts, fights. Finally, a few years back, I got up and left without saying anything to Mr. Morgan.
I got no sermon to preach.
I know it wasn't the way to do it. And he left me some insurance anyway. How do you like that guy?
Have you been thinking about the Sagasa thing, Rocky?
I've been trying.
You can't remember any more?
No. Does it look bad?
I can't tell about these other people.
I wouldn't have killed him. Misha's trouble, I know that, but I wouldn't have killed him. I didn't have any reason to.
It's been my approach, but I haven't proved anything with it. You sit tight until I come back. Oh, here. I brought you some cigarettes. I got an answer that morning on my cable to Hartford. The Morgan estate was sending a lawyer. Then I waited until the middle of the afternoon when the charter plane came back from Managua with the results of the fingerprint tests. There was only one place to go.
That's you, Mr. Dollar?
Why didn't you give me a straight story at the beginning, Rocky?
What do you mean?
Why didn't you tell me you killed him?
Did I kill him?
You know you did.
No, I swear I don't. I don't remember.
You mean that, don't you?
I don't remember, Mr. Dollar. I don't remember. Did I kill him?
Didn't you ever think of getting Sagasa out of the way?
Yeah. He was in the way. Did I kill him?
I've been looking for evidence that would say you didn't. What I found says you did.
What?
Your fingerprints on the knife, and no other fingerprint at all. They couldn't have been faked. There was only one way to get them there.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So am I.
I didn't mean to. I had no reason to. Why did I? Well, things happen, I guess. It could have happened to anybody who doesn't have any more sense than I do. I got nobody to blame. Nobody.
Expense account, item 5, same as items 3 and 4, transportation back to Hartford. Item 6, miscellaneous, $235. Expense account total, $840.75. Remarks? I'm sorry the mission wasn't more successful. The estate lawyer arrived before I left, and although he wasn't familiar with Nicaraguan courts, he felt that David Rockey had a chance on a second-degree murder plea. None of us knew what the terms would be. But we did know that $1.5 million was worth waiting for. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, stars Edmund O'Brien in the title role and is written by Gil Dowd with music by Wilbur Hatch. Edmund O'Brien's latest picture is a Paramount Pictures production, The Redhead and the Cowboy. Featured in tonight's cast were Lillian Baez, Bill Conrad, Tyler McVeigh, Edgar Barrier, Jay Novello, and Jack Moyles. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, is produced and directed by Jaime Del Valle. This is Dick Cutting, inviting you to join us next week at this time when Edmund O'Brien returns as...
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
There's Saturday night fun with the young married set when Lucille Ball and her favorite husband come along later this evening on most of these same CBS stations. You'll enjoy the laughs with Lucille Ball as she tries to help, but more often hinders the man she calls my favorite husband. And now, stay tuned for Von Monroe's Caravan, which follows immediately over most of these same CBS stations. This is CBS, where Hopalong Cassidy rides every Saturday night, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Welcome back. Well, for those of you who are Rocky Jordan fans, and for me, as someone who's listened to quite a few episodes by now of Rocky Jordan, this was sort of ironic to have Jack Moyles and Jay Novello in the show together in different roles than the ones they played on Rocky Jordan. Rocky Jordan had actually ended the Jack Moyles run only 4 months before, so this was a fascinating turn of events. You know, I know that Johnny Dollar was being somewhat mysterious and indicating that what a dangerous life he led, as to why he did not purchase a round-trip airline ticket when he flew out on assignments. But a better explanation to me would seem to be the fact that if he bought a round-trip air ticket, he has no idea when he's going to need to come back from the assignment. Some of these things have been over within a day. Some have taken weeks to resolve. You just can't plan your trips like that and get a round-trip fare. This episode really featured a kind of almost expected, in some ways, incurious police force that you kind of expect when you write about police in a Central American country. The ironic thing, of course, is that at the end of the day, nobody was being framed, nobody was lying. The person that they had caught turned out to be the right guy. So a somewhat downbeat, but not unexpected outcome here. Well, we turn now to listener comments and feedback. She says, Karen writes, awesome podcast, and then comments how this show is better than one of the competing shows because we don't have the annoying advertisements. She writes, I've loved old-time radio since my 1960s youth in the San Francisco Bay Area when I listened to rebroadcast of The Black Museum and The Adventures of Harry Lime. Thanks for making these shows available and adding your commentary. Well, thanks a lot, Karen. Of course, Black Museum and The Adventures of Harry Lime, along with Box 13, were among those shows that I think tended to stay out there a bit longer. The syndicated shows, very well preserved, and they were intended to be resold continually to radio stations throughout the country. So glad you were able to catch those. The syndicated shows, along with the Armed Forces Radio Service, probably did more to keep radio alive than anybody up until the 70s when the old-time radio movement really took off. And then a simple comment from Matthew. Love the show. Keep up the great work. Well, thanks so much, Matthew. And he sent that from the Android app. Much appreciated. And if you have the app today, remember we have an extra special bonus episode with Edmund O'Brien starring in The Treasure of the Sierra Madre. You'll definitely want to listen to that. In the meantime, if you have a comment, send it to me, box13@greatdetectives.net. Remember, you can follow us over on Twitter at Radio Detectives. And become one of our friends on Facebook, facebook.com/Radio Detectives. From Boise, Idaho, this is your host, Adam Graham, signing off.